Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's 7 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk. Brian Wilson in the chair for the next 4 hours as we bring you news and information on, well, I don't know about you. I'm sort of disappointed with the day. I thought it's going to be a lot better than it was.
A lot more cloudy than I thought we were going to have.
Well, it still says it's supposed to be sunshiny today, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
Breezy, cool, still sort of a raw day, but nonetheless, we are still looking for the winds to die down. They were pretty intense this morning.
They were, yeah.
Yeah, and die down, and then we should have a nice Saturday and an even nicer Sunday. So the weekend is not a loss, from what I can understand.
Yeah, baby steps, I guess.
Yeah, you can't go from one to the other just like that. Hey, listen, we've got some things to watch. If you're following what's going on in the world, the larger world, not just here in America, but around the world, especially in the Mideast, things are very tense right now. As you know, Iran is responsible for supporting the Hamas and Hezbollah and supported the organizations that raided Israel on October 7th. And so in trying to respond, Israel attacked an Iranian diplomatic post in Damascus, Syria, and killed an important general in the Quds forces. Iran is very angry about this and says that they're going to retaliate. And the word that we're getting is that Iran could well retaliate within the next 48 hours, within hours. And from what I'm reading here, I've got a bunch of stories about this. White House says reportedly imminent Iran attack on Israel is a viable threat. From Newsmax, reported imminent attack on Iran by Israel is a real and viable threat. The White House said on Friday, giving no details about any possible timing and reiterating that the U.S. takes its commitments to defend Israel seriously. White House National Security Council spokesman John Kirby added the United States is looking at its own force posture in the region in light of Tehran's threat and watching the situation quite closely. From FoxNews.com. The U.S. continues to closely monitor what it deems to be a credible threat on an Iranian attack on Israel in response to the strike on Iran's Damascus consulate, even as reports indicate Iran is looking to deploy a non-escalatory response. This is where we get involved. You ready? The United States is also moving additional assets to the Middle East region to bolster regional deterrence efforts and to increase force protection for U.S. forces. This comes from John Kirby. So we already have a number of ships and battle groups in the region. We are apparently supplementing that in some way. And because it seems prudent to do so, we're moving force protection resources into the area because we have a lot of people on the ground in places like, well, Syria and Iraq, for example. I would just say we're watching this very, very closely. U.S. National Security Council Coordinator for Strategic Communication John Kirby told reporters on Friday, we still deem the potential threat by Iran here to be real, to be viable, certainly credible, and we're watching it as closely as we possibly can. A few moments ago, the President of the United States was doing an event, and he was asked a quick question before he shuffled off by reporters about the situation with Israel and Iran.
We are devoted to the defense of Israel. We will support Israel. We will help defend Israel, and Iran will not succeed. Thank you very much.
And then he shuffled off. U.S. CENTCOM General Michael Kurilla has been in Israel, where he met with the Israeli Defense Force Chief of the General Staff, Lieutenant General Hezi Halevi, and Israel Minister of Defense Yoav Gallant to assess military preparedness, moving up his plans due to the threats from Iran. Pentagon Press Secretary Major General Pat Ryder confirmed during a press conference yesterday. Ryder did not speculate as to any specific threats from Iran to Israel, even as Tehran continues to promise action. State Department has issued new travel advisories for Israel on Thursday, restricting U.S. government employees and their families from traveling outside major cities. The department warns terrorist groups, lone actor terrorists, and other violent extremists continue plotting possible attacks in Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza. Terrorists and violent extremists may attack with little or no warning. Israel said to be bracing for a direct and unprecedented attack by Iran on government targets as soon as Saturday, according to people familiar with the Western intelligence assessment, a move that has the potential to trigger, and this is the real concern here, that this triggers a tit for tat, and then that escalates into an all-out regional war between Israel and Iran, the many proxies that are backed by Iran, and who knows who else might step into the fray. An assault from Iranian soil has emerged as one of the main scenarios expected by the Jewish state and its allies, and the people who ask not to be identified as they are not authorized to discuss the matter publicly. A bombardment with drones and precision missiles could come within the next 48 hours. How does this impact you and me? Well, let's get to this point. Oil jumped to the highest level since October on the news, rallying as much as 2.6% to top $92 a barrel. Futures have surged 19% this year, with the war adding a risk premium to the market. The U.S., as I said, is preparing defenses and moving additional military assets in. An Iranian missile and drone barrage would represent a retaliation for a deadly strike, which the Islamic Republic blames on Israel. Israel's never confirmed it, but really everybody knows pretty much that they're the ones who pulled it off. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has repeatedly said that Israel will be punished for the assault, although stopped short of saying what form such a counter-move would take. One of the people said it's possible that the increasingly inflammatory rhetoric between Israel, Iran, and the U.S. could be grandstanding, but said that working assumption for Israel and its allies is that an attack is imminent. Diplomatic back channels are in overdrive. U.S. officials, including Jake Sullivan and Brett McCurk, have been working to send messages to Iran, including through an established Swiss channel, one of the people said, while talking to Israel, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and other governments. And Karine Jean-Pierre said Thursday the U.S. has warned Iran not to use Israel's attack as a pretext to escalate hostilities further. Look, the whole region right now is on tenterhooks. I mean, it's an explosive environment, and Israel attacking the diplomatic compound in Syria was a provocative act. There's no doubt about that. But again, Israel believes it has the right to defend itself against the attacks, and the attacks came from organizations that are supported by Iran. So, that seems fair to me. But what happens next is of great concern. Iran strikes Israel. Israel strikes Iran. Other players in the region, where tensions are always high, decide that they get into the play. And then we've got people all over the region who are also, sort of caught in the crossfire there and could also come under attack. And then on top of all that, oil prices are going to skyrocket the moment the first attack is launched by Iran against Israel. You'll just see the oil prices skyrocket for a while, which means for you and me, higher oil and gas prices. So there's not much that's good to all that's happening out there. My greatest concern is our people, and that we have all kinds of resources out there. This is from the Wall Street Journal. U.S. moves warships to defend Israel in case of Iranian attack. The U.S. warships rushed into position to protect Israel and American forces in the region, hoping to head off a direct attack from Iran on Israel that could come as soon as Friday or Saturday. The moves by the U.S. are part of an effort to avoid a wider conflict. And you see what I think might happen here, and this would be just a speculation on my part. We have the ability, I think, in the region to intercept anything that Iran sends in the direction of Israel. So if Iran makes the firing and we intercept it and take it out before it can land inside Israel, well, that would then would give Israel no reason to retaliate because they never struck. So I think that the United States wants to be somebody in the middle, but it's very dangerous in the middle. And again, when you've got so many resources out there, things can go sideways, and there can be a misunderstanding of intent. And this kind of environment, I think our people are definitely in the crosshairs here, or at least in the crossfire. By the way, this story from townhall.com sort of relates to all of that. Senior Biden officials admits funds for Iran go toward violence, not humanitarian needs. U.S. senators are criticizing the Biden administration for putting Americans in harm's way after Deputy Treasury Secretary Wally Adeyemo admitted that the $6 billion the president unfroze last year likely went to fund violent activity and not, as we were told, to humanitarian needs. During his testimony on Tuesday before the Senate Banking Committee, Adeyemo acknowledged that for Iran, any dollar they have will go towards their violent activity before they deal in a positive way with their people. His admission comes after Republicans warned the Biden administration last year not to unfreeze the funds for Iran in exchange for Americans being held hostage, arguing that the money would go directly into the pockets of terrorists, which apparently now we have confirmation it did. Shortly after the Biden administration handed over billions of dollars to Iran, Hamas terrorists launched a terrorist attack in Israel, killing more than 1,200 civilians, including, as you know, many women and children. And then there's this. There's been an effort to try to mediate some kind of ceasefire between Hamas and Israel. The Wall Street Journal reports today that U.S. and Israeli officials fear that most of the Israeli hostages held by Hamas since October 7th are dead, despite talks to secure hostage release deal and a temporary truce occurring in Cairo. While the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, has confirmed the deaths of 34 of the 129 remaining hostages abducted by Hamas on October 7th, citing intelligence and findings obtained by troops operating in Gaza, the report said that Israeli and American officials estimate privately that the number of deaths may be much higher. U.S. officials quoted in the report said some hostages may have been killed by Israeli airstrikes on Gaza amid the ongoing war, while others died of health issues, including injuries suffered during their abduction. And some U.S. estimates indicate that most of the hostages are already dead. American officials familiar with the intelligence told the paper, while stressing that U.S. information on the hostages is limited and depends in part on Israeli intelligence. And Hamas, Hamas was asked to provide the release of some 40 hostages if there was going to be a ceasefire. Hamas has apparently told mediators, we don't have 40 hostages. So not very good news on that front. Look, it could break at any moment, and if it does, it's going to be a very fluid and a very chaotic situation. Information coming from the region is going to be, you're going to hear a lot of things that turn out to be true and a lot of things that turn out to be not true, and it will take a while for those things to be sorted out. But it does appear, all the signs are blinking red, that something is about to happen in the region that will impact your oil and gas prices and put our people in the region at increased risk. We'll stay on it. 20 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk. You know, the chairman of the Federal Reserve has said that we're on an unsustainable fiscal path. You know, they aren't going to pay off the $34 trillion debt anytime soon, you know. And what they'll do is they'll just print more money, pay off the interest on the debt, and weaken the U.S. dollar. Perhaps it's time you invested in something different than the dollar. How about something that has real value, something tangible, something you can hold in your hand? I'm talking about precious metals. Maybe you've thought about adding gold or other precious metals to your portfolio, but feel you don't have the knowledge you need to make a smart decision. Well, that's the way I felt, but I got the professional guidance I needed at Nashville Gold and Coin. I mean, maybe gold and silver is the place you go as a safe haven in uncertain economic times. And my friends at Nashville Gold and Coin are standing by to answer all your questions about the precious metals market. There's the way it works. You make an appointment. You sit down one-on-one with my friends at Nashville Gold and Coin. They'll answer all your questions, help you make the precious metals investment that is right for you. It is friendly. You will learn a lot, and you will never be subjected to a high-pressure sales pitch. And by the way, if you have some old coins laying around gathering dust, why don't you bring them along? You might be surprised at just how much they're worth. To set up that one-on-one appointment, just go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldandCoin.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandison. I love my Patriot Supply. It's emergency food so you can care for your family no matter what. And today, we're fixing creamy chicken-flavored rice. And the thing I love about my Patriot Supply, it's easy. You just get the water, turn on the heat, and in minutes, we are ready to go. Now, this food lasts for 25 years in special packaging, and yes, it does taste great. And in just minutes, it's ready to eat. Patriots don't rely on the government to take care of their family in emergencies. It's up to you. Order right now and get $200 off a 3-month food kit. It's important to go to preparewithmandis.com to get that great discount. That's preparewithmandis.com to get that great discount. Preparewithmandis.com. $200 off a 3-month food kit.
More U.S. troops headed to the Middle East. A deadly shooting at an apartment complex in Tennessee, and a Houston hospital is shutting down their liver and kidney programs. We'll tell you why. 3:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, there he is. There's Mac Morey with all your stories. Of course, he's also the host of a runaway successful. They clamor for it in the 5 o'clock hour. 5:25, we do our Mac Morey's Wild World of Sports, and you know, we don't spend a lot of time on sports, but you know, sports is news too. And it's what people are talking about. And Mac brings such passion to his reporting of sports that we really enjoy that. So we'll do that at 5:25 as we do each day. And then there's Chris Weber in the control room. He's behind the glass, making sure all the buttons are being pushed in a proper way. So many blinky buttons.
And I've got a window.
You do.
lucky.
Yeah.
Mac does not have a window.
No window.
No,
Unless you count the window that's looking at the back of my head. Right now.
Lucky me.
Yeah, such a lovely view that is.
Yeah.
Well, now, it's good to have a window, but basically, Mac's in a closet.
It's true.
Which is why immediately after his newscast, he jumps up and runs from the room. It's
need
like
sunlight.
claustrophobia is starting to set in. He can't take it. 1 moment later.
You know that noise that the Roadrunner makes when he takes off?
Beep, beep.
That's what Mac sounds like.
Yeah. Listen, I'm looking forward. I went today. I went down up to Lebanon. Wife and I went to have lunch and then came back to get ready for work. And, boy, the preparations for the mile-long yard sale are well underway. We do that in the spring and the fall here in Watertown. It's the big event. Train comes in and people come in. And, I mean, already the vendors are setting up all those different food trucks. And it's like going to a carnival.
Nice.
I mean, you can get what is that stuff called? It's like pancakes.
Funnel cake.
Funnel cake.
My.
Yeah, funnel cake. Yeah.
Oh,
You can get
so
funnel
good.
cakes. You can get corn dogs. You can get Polish dogs, which is my favorite. I love the Polish dogs, and just all kinds of. I mean, there's all kinds of food trucks, barbecue, you name it. It's going to be going on, and then people set up their stuff for sale, and it starts when you turn off I-40 and head down toward Watertown. If you're coming from Nashville, you go east until you get to 70. Right at the dog food plant,
Yep,
which is the marker. You turn as you're going like south, and you will then eventually turn east, and then you're into Watertown. And the people all up and down Highway 70 have got their stuff out.
already setting it up, huh?
Oh yeah, they started setting it up like 2 days ago.
Wow.
Well, it looks like the weather's actually going to
Yeah,
fare pretty well.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty nice. A couple of interesting stories I thought were funny, guys. Not much as we haven't really talked very much about Beyonce's country music album called Cowboy Carter, but it is having an impact on fashion. Since her record came out, Western boot sales have jumped over 20%.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, listen, just because you have a pair of boots doesn't make you a cowboy. As I prove each and every day when I put on my boots. But I thought that was interesting. If you're making, you good cowboy boots, I'm telling you, are not cheap. But what I love about cowboy boots is that you can rebuild them and rebuild them and rebuild them. When the soles wear out, the heels wear out. You just keep rebuilding them. I've got boots that are 25 or 30 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
they still look pretty good.
The leather is, last a lifetime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found this story, and I did not know this. I haven't said much about O.J. Simpson's passing, mainly because if you can't say something nice about somebody, don't say anything at all. And I can't think of anything that I want to say about O.J. Simpson, but I found this interesting. Remember the famous Bronco and the low-speed or high-speed chase?
Oh, yeah.
Whatever you want to call it. You know where that Bronco is now? It's in Pigeon Forge.
Whoa.
The
Really?
Alcatraz East Crime Museum.
Really? See, I've
Yes.
never been to that museum. I've seen it every time I go, and I've often wondered what it's all about. But
Now, OJ had a Bronco, but the white Bronco that you remember from the low-speed chase was driven by his friend Al Cowlings, and it was his Bronco.
Okay.
And that's the one they have on display there.
Wow.
How about that?
Wow.
Little piece of OJ history right here in Tennessee, but it's at the Alcatraz East Crime Museum in Pigeon Forge. Who knew?
did not know that.
Yeah, well, now you do.
150 million people watched. I learned that yesterday. 150 million people watched that verdict live. That's insane.
Yeah, I remember watching the low-speed chase.
Wow.
And then you know what I thought? I was one of the people who went out and bought a Bronco. I thought, that's a great car. Why don't I have a Bronco? I got a black one. It was jet black. It was awesome.
Ooh, that
Yeah.
sounds awesome.
I drove it for 2-3 years, then I traded it in.
I bet you it would be worth more money today had you kept it than you paid for it.
That's true.
I wish I had kept. There's a
Yeah,
lot of
those are
cars
high
I wish
demand.
I'd kept. There's a '72 Grand Torino I wish I still had. Yeah, that one hurts. And a '68 Chevrolet Impala.
Nice.
Yeah. But nobody seems to be interested in the 1967 Opel Kadett.
Pass on that one.
Yeah,
thanks.
pass on that one.
Yeah.
It's 31 minutes now past the hour. Time for news.
.331, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. Currently 64 degrees, bit sunny, bit windy outside. Got a sunny, nice weekend ahead, though. Weather forecast, traffic report coming up 5 minutes. More U.S. troops headed to the Middle East as officials say they're worried Iran is poised to strike Israel. Ann Flaherty has more.
With tensions in the Middle East at an all-time high, the U.S. military is now moving additional troops and assets to the region. U.S. officials tell ABC News the goal will be to try to deter Iran and to protect troops in the region. According to two U.S. officials, Iran has readied more than 100 cruise missiles for a potential strike.
Back here in Tennessee, crime. Fox 17 says that 31-year-old Joshua Coffey is in jail after being accused of shooting and killing 27-year-old Al Capone Branch at an apartment. It was on University Court. This happened last night around midnight. Coffey claims they got in an argument. Branch was found with a gunshot to the head. Coffey was free on bond at the time of this shooting from a vehicle theft charge. That was from 2 weeks ago. And in Houston, a hospital shutting down its liver and kidney programs after allegations that one of the doctors in charge altered patient records on a government database. That was to deny his own patients transplants. Dave Packer.
Houston's Memorial Hermann Hospital is investigating whether a doctor altered a transplant list to make his patients ineligible for care. A disproportionate number of patients at the hospital died while waiting for new organs. Dr. J. Steve Bynan allegedly manipulated the system to deny his own patients transplants, leading to impossible prerequisites for donors, in one case needing to be a 300-pound toddler. Unclear what might have motivated Dr. Bynan.
And that is the latest news, traffic, and weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
You know, the weather is getting up where you want to do some grilling outside. And if you're a fan of Legend steakhouses like I am, you can enjoy some of those same flavors right at home, right on your own grill. Just take a walk down your local grocery store aisle, places like Walmart or Kroger, and look for Johnny Fleeman's very own brand. Johnny Fleeman's Marinades proprietary blend will give your steaks, chicken, and chops a flavor that will hit a home run with family and friends. It's low in sodium, about a third of other brands. You don't have to worry about over-marinating. You can also use this marinade to enhance almost any dish, like your favorite rice recipe, fresh vegetables, just about anything. And don't forget his honey mustard salad dressing, the South's favorite. It's used as salad dressing at his restaurants or a dipping sauce. It's very good, and you're going to like that. He's been using it for over 35 years in his recipe at his restaurants. So if your favorite grocer isn't stocking Johnny Fleeman products, ask them to do so. For more information, visit johnnyfleeman.com. And it goes without saying, for those times when you want someone else to do all the cooking, they'll always be glad to see you at your nearest Legends Steakhouse for lunch or for dinner.
I do everything from scrubbing cages to asking people for donations to answering the phones and helping facilitate getting animals to the rehab. I'm there on the weekends, up there taking care of animals with the team.
You got a great team there. It's a small team, but a great team that works together. And
Well, I started about 20 years ago. My dear friend Carol Burgess founded Harmony in Fairview.
Okay.
And we decided to reopen it in West Nashville. And we are rocking along. Lots of animals. One of the primary calls that we get are, I found a bird, it's on the ground, what do I do? And in most situations, you should let it alone unless there's an imminent danger to that animal, because the parents are helping it and feeding it, and it just needs a couple of scary days on the ground until it gets back up into flight. What about bunnies, Melody? Can we give advice about bunnies?
The bunnies, they're just the sweetest, most innocent creatures, and we just see the worst things happen to them. Cats, dogs, lawnmowers, weed whackers.
In most cases, if the animals aren't injured, if you can put the rabbits back, that's always better to be with the mother rabbit than to come to us.
All the storms that have been coming through and just destroying nests, and a lot of babies will be found on the ground. Re-nesting is possible and preferable.
You play the video calls and you put the baby near where they found it, and the mama will actually come down and pick it up and then bring it back.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that cool?
Nice.
It is 38 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair. Hey, the sun just broke out. How's it looking there in Nashville? Because it just got all of a sudden a lot better.
Yeah, it's kind of hit or miss. We've got, I see some blue skies and a little sunshine, but the clouds are kind of intermingled.
Okay. Well, anyway, maybe we have hope for the end of the day. It's gonna get better. In the meantime, let's have our 2024 update. A lot of stuff, a lot of ground to cover here today. Good stuff. This one is gonna irritate you. You know how the Democrats have the only standards they have are double standards. They have done nothing but make noise about the fact that money that goes to the RNC, some of it is going to help Donald Trump with his legal bills right now. And they say, hey, you know what? We don't do that. We don't do that. Well, it turns out they do that. Axios reports that the Biden used campaign donations for legal fees to the tune of $1.5 million. It went to the president's personal lawyer, Bob Bauer, and the firm Hemingway and Barnes LLP. The first payment was $15,000, and then the first payment went up from there. It just went up and up and up and up. So a total of about $1.5 million. Despite what they say. I mean, this is the Harris Biden finance chair, Rufus Gifford, making an appearance on MSNBC not long ago.
This is the ultimate point here. Every single dime that you give to the Biden-Harris reelection campaign, we spend talking to voters. We are, of course, engaging, whether it's ad buys, whether it's phone calls. We've made hundreds of thousands of calls to voters. And again, we are not spending money on legal bills. We are not hawking gold sneakers or any of that stuff. The money that we are raising, we are going straight to talking to voters. And we're going to continue to invest the money that we are privileged to have you invest in us, and we're going to go out into the swing states and win this thing.
Yeah, did you hear that the truth detector was engaged during that soundbite? means that you've just heard a big whopper. $1.5 million. So enough of that. Shut up. Inflation is going to be the one thing I think that is going to be a real problem for Joe Biden. And by the way, if things really heat up in the Mideast, as we were talking about a little bit earlier, inflation will go up because the price of oil will go up, and nothing ripples through the economy quicker than the higher cost of gas and oil and energy, basically. It takes energy to get your goods to marketplace. Your goods and services depend on energy to be delivered. And so, that's going to make the stubborn inflation a bit more stubborn. But MSNBC, again, I watched them so you don't have to. They had a little focus group that they got together. And, there were people who weren't particularly fond of Trump as a person. But when this question came up, it was quite surprising. Here we go.
The undecided voters were also asked how they think President Biden is doing on the economy. Take a listen.
I think he's been absolutely disastrous for the economy.
I agree.
Raise your hand if you think President Trump's policies on the economy would be better for your family personally. Raise your hand. All right, so that is everybody.
Everybody in this, it's sort of like, I wish you could see the video because it's sort of like the opening to, that show where they had the squares, like Hollywood squares. They're all in like there, and everybody just raises their hand. Yeah, Trump's policies were better for me, and these were people who were not particularly enamored with Trump, but they admit that economically they did better under Trump. We're very concerned about voter integrity on our side of the equation, I would say. Interesting story today in thefederalist.com. 8 ways to ensure that all legitimate votes get counted, but not others. And I think this is pretty interesting. I like this. Let me go through. They do a bullet point, which I think I'll just share with you rather than read all, 13 pages of it. Here are the things they say you must do if you really want to sort of lock down on voter integrity. They think that you should ban ballot harvesting. Now, the Republicans have not been big on ballot harvesting, but I think they're going to have to get into it where it is legal, just to stay competitive with the other side. Narrowing who can return ballots. I think that's important. You don't want people just going around willing to. I mean, one of the big scams that happens is that the Democrats will send people out to like nursing homes, and nobody's really sure who's filling out this document at all, but they come out with a bunch of them, and a bunch of old people get hornswoggled into signing their name on a ballot that they probably don't even understand in some cases what they have done. Banning third-party distribution of unsolicited absentee applications, agreed. Stopping unsolicited applications and ballots by government officials, I agree with that. Adopting strict guidelines for absentee ballot returns. Yeah, you really do need to say, like, for example, they need to be in before Election Day is over. They got to be in the Election Day mail. Requiring voter ID to cast an absentee ballot. Of course you need that. Prohibiting unsecured drop boxes. Yeah, we're going to have, I promise you, Republicans will have a camera on every drop box in the nation going forward. And requiring absentee and mail-in ballots to be returned by Election Day. Just some of the ideas, which I think are good ones. Meanwhile, in the state of Georgia, federal judge has dismissed a challenge to Georgia's citizenship verification process from the centersquare.com and justthenews.com. A federal judge has granted a motion to dismiss a challenge to Georgia's citizenship verification process. On Thursday, U.S. District Judge Eleanor Ross granted Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger a motion to dismiss, granted his motion to dismiss. Ensuring that only U.S. citizens vote in our elections is critically important to secure and accurate elections. Raffensperger said in his statement, Georgia's citizenship verification process is common sense, and it works. With this ruling, we're able to continue ensuring that only U.S. citizens are voting in our election. The ruling in the Northern District of Georgia follows a September 2022 ruling by U.S. District Judge Steve Jones in favor of Raffensperger in another case, Fair Fight Action filed. According to a release from Raffensperger's office, Ross's ruling will result in Georgia's citizenship verification processes remaining in place for the 2024 election. That is a good outcome. The Democrats are whining. Well, why? Don't you want, you can't have non-citizens voting anyway. Well, you'll have to jump through hurdles. No, not really, not as much as you think. Social Security card does it. A government ID will do it, perhaps. And then there's this question about why do you think Trump keeps his Veep stakes? That's the term that clever headline writers used to say, his vice presidential sweepstakes. Why do you keep it alive and making the list as long as possible? From the Washington Examiner. Former President Donald Trump has had the GOP nomination locked up for almost a month, but his list of possible running mates has yet to shrink. Several names have been floated to be Trump's partner of choice, from Senator J.D. Vance, Republican of Ohio. I like that idea actually a lot. Governor Kristi Noem, a Republican of South Dakota. Senator Tim Scott, Republican of South Carolina. But it appears that the list has grown rather than shrunk as the Republican National Convention inches closer. Trump reportedly likes the large competition to be his vice presidential pick. The Washington Post reported that Trump advisor Jason Miller argued that the somewhat public contest to be Trump's running mate can help get people to work for the campaign while the former president continues to make up his mind. A Republican consultant says the contest to be Trump's running mate is like a revival of NBC's reality competition show, The Apprentice, which Trump hosted for 14 of its 15 seasons from 2004 to 2015. This The Apprentice 2024 version, says GOP consultant Terry Sullivan. That's what it is. Donald Trump is nothing if not a showman. He loves this process, and he's going to drag it out and get as much media coverage and goodwill and leverage as humanly possible. There have been multiple reports about who has an edge, who's Trump's current favorite. Little stuff gets leaked out, but campaign insists no decisions have been made about who will be on Trump's ticket in November. We should open up the phone lines again to see where people are on this at some point. Last month, a Bloomberg report suggested possible names for Trump cabinet if he is elected in November. The report listed Vivek Ramaswamy, possible Homeland Security Secretary, for that him. I wonder, I think he'd be pretty good at that. Governor Doug Burgum, among others. Among the vice presidential candidates, Scott was listed as one person Trump has not ruled out. Tim Scott. I like him a lot. Boy, I mean, he would be there's a lot to like about that from a strategic standpoint. Trump announced his running mate for his 2016 presidential campaign just days ahead of the 2016 Republican National Convention, and will likely do so again ahead of the 2024 convention in Milwaukee from July 15th to July 18th. Have I ever told you the story about how I almost had I did have it. I had one of the biggest scoops ever, and I couldn't do a darn thing with it.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it was a big George H.W. Bush running his first race, and his choice was I'm trying to think of the guy's name. Oh golly, why am I blanking out? From Indiana. Who was this running mate? Good Lord.
Oh, who did it? Oh, Dan
Vice
Quail.
President. Dan Quail, thank you.
Yeah.
Golly, its name just escaped me.
I thought it was someone else.
No, it's Dan Quail. Dan Quail is who he chose.
Yeah.
I was not at the convention that year. For one reason or another, it was not the one convention they sent me to cover. And I was up on Capitol Hill, and I got into an elevator I guess it's about 11:30 in the morning. And there were a bunch of staffers, Quail staffers on the elevator who were talking about, oh, this is, Dan Quail. Who would have thought that they would have chosen Dan Quail of all people? And I just sort of kept my head down and pretended like I wasn't even there. But they went on to talk about, about how, who was going to be upset with that decision, and it's going to be fun to watch it when it's announced later this afternoon. I had it at like 11:30 in the morning, but I didn't have a newscast that I could have gotten it on until 10 o'clock that night. Because I worked for a station that just did one newscast a day at the time. It was the 10 o'clock news in Washington, D.C. So I sat on. I had it hours before anybody else, and I had no place to go with. Now today, you could put it on the internet and get the scoop.
Oh yeah,
but we didn't have that back then. But I literally had it bright and early that morning, long hours and hours and hours. I remember Bush flew in to the convention. Reagan had already been there. Reagan went out to shake his hand and meet him at the airplane. He pulled Reagan over to the front wheel of Air Force One, or Air Force Two maybe, and whispered in his ear what it was. And I remember Reagan looked very surprised. But it was Dan Quail.
Mr. Potato.
Yeah, Mr. Potato. That's right. 52 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. One of the things I love most about Genesis Diamonds is the laid-back feel, the vibe, the relaxed feeling you get when you walk in, because there are no commissioned salespeople at Genesis, and you're never going to get any pressure or intimidation. They want to help you. If you're a diamond expert or if you don't know anything about diamonds, they're going to make you feel at home and at ease. And you can see a wide array of GIA-certified diamonds, all in your price range, every shape. Or if you're looking at lab-grown diamonds, Genesis have those as well, at prices way below what others sell them for. When it comes to the ring, Genesis has the ring designers that other stores can't even get. All the top brands from trusted, renowned designers like Decore and Verragio, plus free service for life on any purchase, designer jewelers that you can't find in other stores, 110% diamond upgrade guarantee, and an incredible selection of pristine luxury pre-owned Rolexes. For your specialty occasion coming up, get the most value, the highest quality, and the best overall experience at Genesis Diamonds. 2 locations, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to Markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
An extension to an expiring portion of the FISA Act. Cars struck by lightning here in Tennessee. A Boeing updates and some sad news for Golden Bachelor fans. Those stories at 4 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All three of them. No, actually, that show's very popular. It amazes me that it is, but it is. Let's take a look at the markets. Dow Jones Industrial's down 475 points today. S&P is down 75. The NASDAQ down 267. So all screens are very much red, and a lot of it has to do with the tension in the Middle East and other things. Let's check in with John Maxon over at Beacon Capital Management to find out more. Hello, John.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Yeah, the Dow actually just finished its worst week of 2024, and all indexes were down. Inflation a big concern, and as you mentioned, that is not being helped by tensions in the Middle East. Oil actually is at the highest level it's been since last fall, and just today, the Michigan Consumer Sentiment report came out, and that fell. And one of the biggest things that folks are continuing to mention is inflation. In fact, that was backed up today by some of the big banks that reported earnings. JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon specifically mentioned inflation and how that's putting pressure on the banks. So this whole idea of inflation continuing.
Well, apparently we've lost John there, but find out about all the things that you can do to make ready for your retirement by checking in with John and the good people over at Beacon Capital Management. Go to the website, askbeaconnow.com. 4 o'clock now on Super Talk.
What an absolute mess. Hey, it's Dan Mandison. Look at my closets. Unorganized to say the least. Even my window dormer is a train wreck. Stuff is everywhere. Now, luckily, California Closets is coming to my rescue. My personal design consultant, Vince, stopped by, measured, and is now showing me how to become more space efficient and organized on his 3D CAD system. It is amazing. And soon, my space is going to be organized, and yes, even Bandit approves. California Closets, a local company that can customize the storage in any room of your house. California Closets, what can they do for you? Find them online at californiaclosets.com and reach out for your free in-home consultation.
.402, I'm Mac Morey with your top story. 65 degrees, partly cloudy today in Nashville. A sunny, warmer weekend ahead. Traffic, complete weather forecast coming up in about 5 minutes. Right now in the nation's capital, the House has passed and sent to the Senate a bill extending an expiring portion of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. Despite being praised by its backers as an essential national security tool, FISA Section 702 also prompted privacy concerns on both sides of the aisle. Stephen Portnoy.
The measure extends a warrantless surveillance program that sparked bipartisan concerns. The FBI insists it has reformed its processes, and the House-passed bill codifies those changes. But New York Democrat Gerald Nadler pointed to more than 200,000 known past violations.
Without a probable cause warrant requirement, it is clear that the intelligence community will go on breaking the law.
A push by liberals and conservatives to include that warrant requirement failed by the narrowest of margins, a tied vote.
Today in Tennessee, Channel 4 reports that 2 cars were struck by lightning in Henry County. They were driving down Highway 79 when it happened. Fire crews had been told that the car smelled like smoke. They got to the scene to see 2 vehicles had electrical failure. One had a busted window. Officials said no injuries were reported. And it turns out what made shocking headlines a few weeks ago for the way Boeing 737 MAX engineers were checking door seals were actually approved methods for doing so. Here's Alex Stone.
It made big headlines last month when the New York Times reported in failed audits that Boeing 737 engineers had been seen at the factory using Dawn liquid soap and hotel room door keys to check seals on aircraft doors. Now we learn those are actually approved ways of checking door seals, okayed by Boeing and the FAA. The thing that looked like a hotel room door key does look similar to one, but it's actually a special device to check the gap in a door.
Back here in Tennessee, a shooting, 1 person dead, another in critical condition. It happened in Lewis County this morning. That injured victim was flown to a hospital. Officials say a suspect is in custody. No additional information has been given. And some entertainment news, a Golden Bachelor bombshell. The Golden Bachelor and his bride splitting up after 3 months of marriage. Here's Jason Nathanson.
It certainly seemed like 71-year-old Gary Turner and his 70-year-old bride, Teresa Nisk, were in love when they were married in January after meeting on the ABC reality show The Golden Bachelor.
We have a trust that cannot be broken.
But in a shocking turn of events, it turns out Turner and Nisk couldn't make it work.
It's probably time for us to dissolve our marriage.
They broke the devastating news to ABC's Juju Chang.
Did you fall out of love?
No.
Who tried to get a concrete answer out of them as to why or how things broke down, but we didn't really get a reason.
It's a head scratcher.
And that is the latest news. Traffic, weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
What an absolute mess. Hey, it's Dan Mandison. Look at my closets. Unorganized to say the least. Even my window dormer is a train wreck. Stuff is everywhere. Now, luckily, California Closets is coming to my rescue. My personal design consultant, Vince, stopped by, measured, and is now showing me how to become more space efficient and organized on his 3D CAD system. It is amazing. And soon, my space is going to be organized, and yes, even Bandit approves. California Closets, a local company that can customize the storage in any room of your house. California Closets, what can they do for you? Find them online at californiaclosets.com and reach out for your free in-home consultation.
Make it 9 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair for hour number 2. We have got a lot going on right now. Let's in fact, just go ahead and get into some breaking news mode here. Right now, the former President of the United States, Donald Trump, in Mar-a-Lago, holding a press conference where he is with him, right there beside him, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Let's listen in a little bit, and I'll give you some of the context of why Johnson is there and why this is important. This is live from Mar-a-Lago right now.
And I'll introduce the Speaker, who you know very well. He's doing a really good job under very tough circumstances, and I appreciate he came to Mar-a-Lago. We have a great conference, and there's a big turnout because people want this to be healed. They want our country to be healed. They want our country to be united. And I think most people are united on the fact that they don't want people pouring in from prisons and jails and mental institutions. They don't want that to happen. They don't want it to take place, and it's not going to happen for long. And that's why I say that November 5th is going to be the most important day in the history of our country. That's the election. It's going to be the most important day in the history of our country. Thank you very much. And Speaker, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, and it's good to see you all. We're so delighted to be here with our former and future president in this beautiful facility. Mar-a-Lago is famous around the country, and we're grateful to be here. With President Trump as our nominee in the party, we are very much looking forward to that historic day in November, because we are going to grow the House majority, we're going to win the United States Senate, and we're going to win back the White House as well. The American people need us to do that. They're excited for that day, and November cannot get here soon enough. The Speaker of the House, when we're not in session, the Speaker is required to go around, fly around the country and be with all of our candidates and incumbents all around. I've been to 23 states now in the last several weeks, and everywhere we go, one of the first questions that people ask about is this issue of election integrity. The border is the #1 issue in America. There's never been a political issue that scored so high in the polls as a matter of concern. And it doesn't matter where anyone lives, because as we say now, every state is a border state. They're deeply concerned about that. And election integrity is tied to the lack of border security. President Biden has created a catastrophe, and he did it by design. We documented 64 specific executive actions that he took from the day he walked into the Oval Office, and that his agencies took under Secretary Mayorkas to open the border wide, to invite everybody from around the world to come here, including hardened criminals and dangerous persons. And the result, we all know. The official number is 9 million encounters at the southern border alone, just since Joe Biden took office. But the actual number is probably close to 16 million illegals who have come into the country because they desired it, they designed it, they engineered it to be that way. His actions did that. He ended the Remain in Mexico policy under President Trump's administration. They reinstated catch and release that had been practiced under the Obama administration. They stopped building the wall. They did everything exactly the opposite of what this president had achieved. And that's why we have this catastrophe. It has all sorts of terrible effects on the American people. We know that fentanyl is the leading cause of death for Americans age 18 to 49. We know that violent crimes are being committed on innocent Americans now. Laken Riley and many others who are now losing their lives because these dangerous people are in our country, and it must stop. And the American people are demanding that it does. And it doesn't matter which political party that any American is in, they have the same desire. They want safety and security, and we can supply that. But among the problems that flows from this open border catastrophe is directly related to this threat to our election integrity. Why is that? You need to understand something really important about federal law. Since 1993, the National Voter Registration Act, we call it the Motor Voter Law, allows people to sign up to vote when they get a driver's license. If an individual only asserts or simply states that they are a citizen, they don't have to prove it. They can register that person to vote in a federal election. And you see, states are currently prohibited. Believe it or not, the states are prohibited from asking someone to prove that they're a citizen. The federal voter registration form just has a check-a-box, and if you do that, you're good. The states can't allow it. Well, we think that's a serious problem. And so what we're going to do is the House Republicans are introducing a bill that will require proof of citizenship to vote. It seems like common sense. I'm sure all of us would agree. We only want U.S. citizens to vote in U.S. elections. But there are some Democrats who don't want to do that. We believe that one of their designs, one of the reasons for this open border, which everybody asks all around the country, why would they do this? Why would they allow all this chaos? Why the violence? Because they want to turn these people into voters. Right now, the administration is encouraging illegals to go to their local welfare office to sign up for benefits. Well, guess what? When you go to a welfare office, they also ask you if you would like to register to vote. And so many people, we think, are going to do that. And you know what? The numbers are so high. There's so many millions of illegals in the country that if only 1 out of 100 voted, they would cast potentially hundreds of thousands of votes in the election. That could turn an election. This could be a tight election in our congressional races around the country. It could, if there are enough votes, affect the presidential election. And so that's why House Republicans are going to act. I'm going to announce to you today, here standing alongside President Trump, that we will do everything within our power to ensure that we do have free and fair elections in this country. If we don't have that in a constitutional republic, we have nothing. It's the basis of who we are as a nation, and we owe that to the American people. And so what we're going to do is introduce legislation to require that every single person who registers to vote in a federal election must prove that they're an American citizen first. They have to prove it. That will be a new part of the federal law and a very important one. Our bill will establish new safeguards. It'll put us on par, by the way, with virtually every other democracy around the world that also prohibits non-citizen voting. And this is a critical thing for us to do at a very critical time. Our bill also will require states to remove non-citizens from their existing voter rolls. That's a big problem, too. And it will provide access to databases from the Department of Homeland Security and the Social Security Administration to help the states administer this. As the entity that is responsible for regulating federal elections, Congress has this responsibility. We cannot wait for widespread fraud to occur, especially when the threat of fraud is growing with every single illegal immigrant that crosses that border. This is something most Americans are deeply concerned about. The latest poll says 78% of the Americans who are polled say that preventing illegal immigrants from voting in our elections is a top priority. In every place I've gone around the country, whether it's out west, Midwest, Long Island, Deep South, it doesn't matter. Everybody is concerned about this. We have a job to do. Here's what you need to look for, and I'll turn it back to the president. When we put this bill on the floor, you're going to see a record vote by Republicans and Democrats. You'll see that the Republicans stand for election integrity. And then we'll be able to ask this very important question of the Democrats. They're going to have to go on record. Do you believe that Americans and Americans alone should be the ones who vote in American elections? We're about to find out their answer. And I think that will be a very interesting one for everybody to see. Mr. President, thank you again for hosting us today. I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Motion to vacate, or do you stand behind Speaker Johnson?
We're getting along very well with the Speaker, and I get along very well with Marjorie. We have a Speaker. He was voted in, and it was a complicated process, and I think it's not an easy situation for any Speaker. I think he's doing a very good job. He's doing about as good as you're going to do. And I'm sure that Marjorie understands that. She's a very good friend of mine, and I know she has a lot of respect for the Speaker.
And would you support a Ukrainian aid bill if the Speaker was to move forward with it?
We're looking at it right now, and they're talking about it, and we're thinking about making it in the form of a loan instead of just a gift. We keep handing out gifts of billions and billions of dollars, and we'll take a look at it. But much more importantly to me is the fact that Europe has to step up and they have to give money. They have to equalize. If they don't equalize, I'm very upset about it because they're affected much more than we are. The Ukraine situation would have never happened if I was president. Would have never, ever happened. And everybody says that, including Democrats, that it happened is such an outrage. Millions of people are dead right now, both sides. Millions of people are dead. Cities are blown to ashes. You'll never rebuild those cities. That's certainly not like they were, so beautiful. And this is something should have never happened. October 7th should have never happened in Israel. Should have never happened. What happened there was outrageous. Iran was broke when I was president. People weren't buying oil from Iran. They weren't allowed to. If they were going to buy oil from Iran, then they weren't going to do any business in the U.S. And I said it to China. I said it to everybody. They weren't doing business. They were broke. They didn't have money for Hamas. They didn't have money for Hezbollah. It would have never happened. October 7th would have never happened. It did happen, and now it's a disaster, and it's only getting worse. So it's very sad. No, I stand with the Speaker. We've had a very good relationship.
Well, that's a pretty interesting statement by the former president there in Mar-a-Lago. I mean, a lot of news out of this. The main reason that people are asking about Marjorie Taylor Greene is, of course, she has made a motion to vacate the chair. And that, if it were to be brought to the floor and the vote were taken, we would have to find another speaker. The fact that Johnson is there side by side with the presumptive nominee of the Republican Party and getting very positive things said about him seems to be sort of an arm around his shoulder to make that problem go away. But the Speaker himself raises one of the great questions about this coming election and how it relates to what I've been saying for months now. And for more than a year I've been saying this. That the thing that's going on the border is an attempt by Democrats to try to have an impact on the election. And he laid out in very easy to understand terms exactly how that might happen. So, again, election integrity, the border. He mentioned what's going on in Ukraine and, of course, what's happening in the Middle East right now. A lot of news out of that little appearance, and it's ongoing. We'll continue to monitor it. But, boy, was that full of news, all kinds of stuff. It is now 20 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk.
What an absolute mess. Hey, it's Dan Mandison. Look at my closets. Unorganized to say the least. Even my window dormer is a train wreck. Stuff is everywhere. Now, luckily, California Closets is coming to my rescue. My personal design consultant, Vince, stopped by, measured, and is now showing me how to become more space efficient and organized on his 3D CAD system. It is amazing. And soon, my space is going to be organized, and yes, even Bandit approves. California Closets, a local company that can customize the storage in any room of your house. California Closets, what can they do for you? Find them online at californiaclosets.com and reach out for your free in-home consultation.
We've got audio from Donald Trump as he met with Speaker Mike Johnson today and how he supports Speaker Johnson, plus our money news. 4:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yeah, that was timing was very good. Hearing what the speaker had to say with regard to election integrity, very important, and then the president standing with the speaker very much sends a message that Trump supports the speaker, wants to have him continue in that role, and that is sort of a brushback of some of the things that Marjorie Taylor Greene has been saying about the speaker and how she disagrees with him. I think Trump understands the fact that when you are the Speaker of the House and you are in control of one body, and that Democrats have control of the White House and the Senate, that there's only so far you can push, especially when your margins in the House are so razor thin. And so he seems to be pleased with what the Speaker is doing. And I think the Speaker, right there in that appearance, did a remarkable job at explaining in a way that perhaps it hasn't been explained before to the American people, just what the concern is about the border and what the Republicans are going to do about it. Now, he's not going to be able to force that through the Senate. That is controlled by Democrats. But he's right about one thing, and he's going to make the Democrats squirm. They're going to have to explain why it is that they think that you shouldn't have Americans voting in the election, and only Americans. If you're against that, then, you got to explain yourself, Democrats. And I think it's a great thing for them to bring up. And I hope they have some success, but knowing the way the Senate works, I don't imagine that they will. Nonetheless, it is a vote that you need to make the Democrats take. I'm Brian Wilson, and you're listening to The Drive. I'm so glad to be with you on this Friday. Want to mention, like we always do, this is Friday. And right after we do the news here in a few moments with Mac Morey, we're going to do our first round of it's a wildly popular segment here on our program called Phone Your Farb Friday, where you have a chance to call in and say anything that you want to say that's on your mind within boundaries, because it's a family show. But maybe there's something going, maybe you have something to say what you heard the president say or the speaker say. Maybe you've got to be in your bonnet or burn your saddle. You know the whole thing. As long as you stay, keep it clean, you get up on our 100,000 watt soapbox and express yourself. All things are possible during Phone Your Farb Friday. And although we don't really think it's a competition, and please, no wagering, but we do a round at 4:35 and then a second round at 5:35. And, sometimes I think, that there is a little competition between the 2 hours. The people who call in at 4:35 set the standard, and then it's up to the people at 5:35 to meet or beat that standard with great commentary and interesting questions or interesting things to say.
And no one ever has it on lock. I mean, some weeks it's the 4 o'clock hour's better, but some weeks the 5 o'clock's better.
It really is, and it's strictly a judgment call by me and Chris.
Yeah, not that we're judging.
No, we don't. But we're the only people who can have the final say. So anyway, Phone Your Farb Friday coming up, and right after the news here in just a few moments. While I've got a minute, I just wanted to share a factoid with you. You know that the president is going to forgive a bunch of student loan debt. He's moving forward on that. Even though the Supreme Court said he can't do it, he seems to find ways. He's going to try to circumvent the Supreme Court. There are some lawsuits filed, and we'll find out if it can make its way to the Supreme Court in time to stop this. But if the idea is that you're trying to help poor Americans who took out student loans and are struggling to pay them back, let me disabuse you of that notion. First of all, the thing you need to know is with this $84 billion plan, in addition to the $475 billion that he's already forgiven, this is costing taxpayers $500 billion, $559 billion. But the thing that just jumped out at me was, and I found this in a discussion of the budget plan of this student loan forgiveness plan by the Penn Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania. Listen to this. The new plans will relieve some longer-term student debt for about 750,000 households, 750,000 people, making over $312,000 annually. This is not for poor people. This is some of these loans in that group, it averages about somewhere around $35,000 in loan forgiveness for people who make over $312,000 a year. If that doesn't make you mad, that gave you something to talk about when we get to Phone URFARB Friday. Right now, time for the news, 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7.
.30, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 65 degrees, a bit windy, got a sunny, beautiful weekend looking ahead. Highs in the 70s tomorrow, highs getting into the 80s for your Sunday. Weather forecast, traffic report just ahead, 5 minutes. House Speaker Mike Johnson met with former President Trump today in Mar-a-Lago. It comes as Johnson's facing pushback from Trump ally Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has threatened to call for a vote to remove Johnson as Speaker. Here's the former president supporting Johnson.
Along very well with the Speaker, and I get along very well with Marjorie. We have a Speaker. He was voted in, and it was a complicated process, and I think it's not an easy situation for any Speaker. I think he's doing a very good job. He's doing about as good as you're going to do, and I'm sure that Marjorie understands that. She's a very good friend of mine, and I know she has a lot of respect for the Speaker.
Trump said the nation has much bigger problems right now, such as the border and inflation. Now over to some money news. Daria Albinger filling us in on Wall Street.
Stocks tumbled to end the week. The Dow dropped 476 points, and NASDAQ gave up 267, and the S&P fell 76. J.P. Morgan Chase fell on a forecast for interest income from loans, credit cards, and other products that was well below analyst estimates. Worries about tensions in the Middle East are also rattling the markets as investors look for safe places for their money. We aren't feeling quite as good about the economy as we have in recent months. The University of Michigan's latest Consumer Sentiment Index is about halfway between its all-time low, reached in June of 2022 when inflation peaked, and its pre-pandemic average. It says an increase in gas prices may be one of the reasons why. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is looking into a Ford recall over gas leaks and fuel injector cracks, which can cause engine fires. NHTSA says the remedy that Ford is proposing really doesn't fix the problem.
And that is the latest news, traffic, and weather. Up next, I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandison. I love my Patriot Supply. It's emergency food so you can care for your family no matter what. And today, we're fixing creamy chicken flavored rice. And the thing I love about my Patriot Supply, it's easy. You just get the water, turn on the heat, and in minutes, we are ready to go. Now, this food lasts for 25 years in special packaging, and yes, it does taste great. And in just minutes, it's ready to eat. Patriots don't rely on the government to take care of their family in emergencies. It's up to you. Order right now and get $200 off a 3-month food kit. It's important to go to preparewithmandis.com to get that great discount. That's preparewithmandis.com to get that great discount. Preparewithmandis.com. $200 off a 3-month food kit.
We tell you all the time about United Structural Systems, 25,000 satisfied customers if you have some kind of structural issues, foundation repair. Well, that's what they do. But they also do waterproofing, and we've had so much rain of late. So they ask you to look for certain things. Do you have standing water in your crawl space, wet basement walls, musty odors, or floor joists with wood rot, cracks in basement floors? What about hardwood floors in your house that may be cupping because of all the humidity and moisture? Your house is just screaming. It's telling you you've got a waterproofing issue, and you need to call the folks at USS. Listen, they'll come out to your house. They'll take a look at what's going on. They'll give you their best advice, no pressure. And if you decide to go forward, you don't pay a penny until the job is done, and you are completely satisfied. And again, They've been doing this for 25 plus years. They aren't going anywhere. Good people, by the way. So listen, they guarantee their best at USS, serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, Western Kentucky, online at USSTN.com, or call this number, 615-488-7855. "38 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy. And since it's Friday, and this is what we do on Fridays, time for round one of Phone Your Farb Friday. That's right. What's on your mind? It's time to play our little game where you can get up on our 100,000 watt soapbox and express yourself, get things off your chest. Maybe you got a bee in your bonnet. Maybe you got a burr in your saddle. Maybe you got a bug in a place where I hope you never ever have a bug. Speaking of which, I got a wasp in my studio. So if you hear me leave the microphone anytime soon, you know what's going on. Just give us a call at 615-737-9988. 9986. You'd think I know the number. I'm going to do that again. 615-737. I'm watching the wasp. 615-737-9986. We got a full board, so we'll jump right into it. Let me pull up the screen so I can see it. All right, let's start with Scotty in Columbia. Scotty, you're on with Brian on the drive. Scotty, what's on your mind today?
Well, I've got kind of just a knot in my certain place, but these people that are against them banning Roe versus Wade are the same people that don't want the death penalty for the people that's in prison. I don't understand it. They want to kill a baby, but they don't want to kill the guy or execute the guy that has been on death row for 12 years and has murdered numerous people. I don't understand their logic here.
Yeah, there is. It's hard to understand. I've observed that a lot of people who get out there and say that they believe in the right to an abortion and a woman, as they call it, right to choose. If you ask those same people, though, they would how they feel about protecting the baby whales, they'd be all over that. They'd be out there, protect the baby whales, but what about the baby humans? That's the thing I've always thought was interesting. That they care more about animals than they do about human life. And I think you make a very good point. These folks have a real problem with other things as well, like the death penalty. A good point, Scotty. Thank you for the call. Malika in Nashville. Hello, Malika. You're on with Brian on the Drive. What's on your mind today?
Hi, Brian. How are you? I just wanted to say I'm going to be quick. Two things. The first thing, please, people, vote. The Democrats don't care. They're horrible. And the second is about abortion. Look, maybe some people can't take care of their kids. Then put your kid for adoption. A lot of parents that want to become parents can't have kids. So it's a shame. Why would somebody want to do something bad to a person, period? Thanks, and I will listen to your comment, Brian.
All right, Malika. Well, I can't say it. You said it all very well there. I agree with both of those things. Fred in Brentwood. Fred, you're up with Brian on the Drive. Fred, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Brian. I was calling about gun violence. I know we all want to stop another future Covenant School shooting. We want to stop mass shootings in general. I know the legislature, they've proposed red flag laws that involve guns that didn't get anywhere. My idea is a red flag law, but it does not confiscate a gun. If you recall the early videos of the Audrey Hale as she circled the Covenant School, she's driving alone in a car. I believe if there is evidence that an independent judge could be convinced of that someone is dangerous, someone could inflict violence on a large number of people, the law ought to confiscate or temporarily impound their transportation in their car and their right to drive.
An interesting point.
That is completely compliant with our Constitution, and I guarantee you it would reduce mass shootings significantly. I'll hang up and let you speak.
Well, let me just say this, that I think we're going to be hearing something ere long, not very long from now, about that. And it's been interesting to hear the police say that we can't release the documents because it's an ongoing investigation. Well, what's being investigated since the shooter is no longer with us? You're not going to be bringing them to trial. You're not going to be bringing charges against the shooter. So what is being investigated? I wonder if they're investigating whether or not there were signs that should have been acted upon, that were not acted upon, and maybe that certain people are going to be held accountable for not raising a flag about this particular individual. We'll watch and see what happens in the days ahead. But an interesting idea. The idea of a red flag law, the governor didn't like to call it, but that's essentially what it was, really did run into problem in the state legislature. It was never going to pass. But, I think that there is still an openness in the state legislature to try to do things if we could only have a better understanding of everything we need to know about what happened on that horrible day at Covenant School. Thanks for the call. Greatly appreciate it. Robert, on the road. Robert, what's on your mind today?
I was just listening to the speaker and president, or former President Trump was talking about, that going to show proof of citizenship and everything. There's already some stuff on the guidelines on you can get a star on your driver's license, to show that you are a U.S. citizen. Because I think it was Obama that started that, where you had to do that if you got on an airplane and show your driver's license, your ID, and if it's got the star on there, the state's already got all your information, for your, if your birth certificate and all that stuff is already on file to show that you are a U.S. citizen.
Yeah, the problem, as I understand it, explained by the speaker a few moments ago, and we'll play that interview back in our 6 o'clock hour. I thought it was such a good moment. I want to play it back in its entirety. But I think the problem is that if you go because of motor voter registration laws, if you go to get a driver's license and you apply for a license and they ask you, are you an American citizen? And you say yes, they can't question you. And so a lot of people, all they got to do, even if they're not citizens, is say, sure, yeah, I'm an American citizen. And they have to give you a driver's license and maybe that little red star that you talk about. So there's the problem. And we need to make sure that when people go to get their driver's license, et cetera, that they are aware that they're going to have to prove that they are an American citizen. That could be a Social Security card. That could be a birth certificate. There'd be a lot of things you could do. But it seems to me that if you're going to register to vote, it's not too burdensome a hurdle. And Democrats are going to say, well, you're just trying to make it difficult for people to vote. No, we're just trying to make sure that people who are voting, who should be voting, and those people who should not be voting should not vote. And the Democrats are going to squirm on this one. And I hope that they go forward with this whole approach. I don't know that they'll get it through, but they're certainly going to make the point in an election year. Mickey on the road also. Mickey, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Brian, I just have an eclipse story to tell you. So,
Okay.
a lot was made about, it's going to be like going to a Super Bowl or going to a NASCAR race, the traffic and all that. So I was leaving from Nashville. I was going up to Carbondale, Illinois. I think you said you went to Indiana, and it took you maybe, an hour or so longer than normal.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I was going up to Carbondale, Illinois. I bought tickets at Southern Illinois University, and my thought was to go to the stadium there. So it took me. I left Nashville about 9, and it didn't take me that long. It took me usually Metropolis is about 2 hours, and Carbondale maybe another 40 minutes after that. So I made pretty good time up there. I actually saw an eclipse. I decided just to stop at there's a local shop that I decided to stop. People were there. I'm like, let's just watch eclipse here. I didn't want to get into the university and get stuck in traffic. But anyway, long story short, saw the eclipse. The eclipse was great. Saw the totality. I'm like, you know what? I better get on out of here. So I'm about 50 miles north of Metropolis. Traffic stopped a little bit on the way. I had this bright idea. You know what? I'm going to go do a little bit of gambling at Metropolis. So I made the bad mistake of getting off of Metropolis, went to the casino. You could not even get near the casino, the gaming tables. It took me almost an hour just to get back to the interstate. So by the time I got back to Nashville, it was 5.5 hours to do a normal 2-hour drive.
Yeah.
I averaged for 130 miles from Metropolis to Nashville, I averaged 23 miles an hour.
Yeah,
it was the most grueling 5.5 hours of my life.
There was, but was it worth that 4 minutes?
It was worth it. It was worth it. Yes,
yeah.
sir, it was. I would do it again. I mean, it was hard to say that and the thunderstorms, everything else. I mean, that was the longest 5.5 hours of my life. But yes, it was worth it. It was absolutely worth it.
For me, it was about 3 hours up and about 5 hours back. But I do think it was worth it. Thank you for that story, Mickey. Appreciate it. Let's see. Got time for a couple more. Let's see. Perry out on the road. Boy, a lot of people calling from the road today. Hello, Perry. You're on with Brian on the drive.
All right. Thanks for calling. I wanted to call about the O.J. Simpson thing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear you say anything, and I appreciate that about it. But that Matt guy is an O.J. hater. Now, he was acquitted. And that should be it. Now, if Trump gets acquitted of these charges, he'll be in jubilation. And I always want to say thank you for introducing me to the Legends Cafe. That was cool. Thank you.
Good. I'm glad you like it. You know, the OJ thing, I mean, I remember it when I was watching it. I didn't do any of the coverage. I never covered one moment of that story. But I do remember it. And when it happened the other day, my feeling was, well, what do I have to say about it? And I couldn't think of anything that I wanted to say about it. It was just like, and then I just sort of came to the opinion of, well, anything that I would say would probably not be very positive about OJ. And if you can't say anything good about the dead, then don't say anything at all. That's sort of the way I felt about it. But no doubt, a tragic crime was committed. He was acquitted. If the glove don't fit, you must acquit. Remember that? Yeah, I know, but I think most people looked at it. I mean, it's funny. About half of America thought he did it, and half of America thought he didn't do it. I was of the half that thought he did it. All right, let's see. Have I got time for one more? Yeah, very quickly. Jerry in Lebanon, make it quick, Jerry. We were running out of time.
Yes, I have two questions for you. One is, if Trump wins the nomination, what happens if in September he gets found guilty? And then again, if he gets found guilty after he's elected, before he's sworn in, what happens?
Well, I don't know. And the thing is that we are in some sort of uncharted territory here. Traditionally, the Department of Justice has guidelines that says at a certain point in an election year, you don't bring prosecutions against people who are running for political office. That's been a long-standing sort of unofficial, unwritten policy of the Department of Justice. Will they follow that this time? And then what happens? I mean, I would say this, the way these trials are setting up now, I don't know that any of them are going to get to completion in a big way before we get into the conventions and to the final days of the election in November. So I don't know. I know that once you become president or president-elect, I guess, then I think that there is a prohibition that you have an immunity because you've been granted an immunity by the American people. The people have spoken. And so, if he gets elected, then everything just freezes. Nothing goes forward as long as he is the president of the United States. Good conversation, a great round. It'll be interesting to see, Chris. I don't know. That was the bar set pretty high here in the 4:30 round. We'll have to see what happens at 5:30, whether they can meet it or beat it.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, okay. 51, let's call it 52 minutes past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk. King and Associates Insurance in Brentwood has been together. They've been doing business there for 25 years as an independent agency. Now, there's an advantage to that. The one thing about an independent agency is they don't have to just sell you their one product like a lot of companies do. When you go to an independent agency, they can shop around. They can look at this policy, look at that policy, look at several different things, find out if there's a policy that really fits your specific need. And then the end result is you get more insurance bang for your buck. And that's what you want, right? The other thing I love about it is the level of customer service. If you call this number, 615-329-8121, you won't reach a call center. You'll get an actual person every time. They know that every life is different, and they want to work with you to find the best insurance you can get for the least amount of money, right? Multi-policy discounts, they are the kings of that. 20, 25, 30, 35% savings are possible. So why don't you get your royal review with King & Associates Insurance? Just log into tkinginsurance.com. Again, tkinginsurance.com. King Insurance & Associates, you'll get royal treatment and great rates.
Hey, it's Dan Mandison. I love my Patriot Supply. It's emergency food so you can care for your family no matter what. And today, we're fixing creamy chicken flavored rice. And the thing I love about my Patriot Supply, it's easy. You just get the water, turn on the heat, and in minutes, we are ready to go. Now, this food lasts for 25 years in special packaging, and yes, it does taste great. And in just minutes, it's ready to eat. Patriots don't rely on the government to take care of their family in emergencies. It's up to you. Order right now and get $200 off a 3-month food kit. It's important to go to preparewithmandis.com to get that great discount. That's preparewithmandis.com to get that great discount. Preparewithmandis.com. $200 off a 3-month food kit.
5 o'clock, I'm Mac Morey with your top story. 65 degrees and a bit breezy today on Music Row. A warmer, sunnier weekend ahead. Traffic, complete weather forecast 5 minutes away. House Speaker Mike Johnson met with former president today in Mar-a-Lago. It comes as Johnson's facing pushback from Trump ally Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's threatened to call for a vote to remove Johnson as Speaker. Here's the former president supporting Johnson.
Along very well with the Speaker, and I get along very well with Marjorie. We have a Speaker. He was voted in, and it was a complicated process, and I think it's not an easy situation for any Speaker. I think he's doing a very good job. He's doing about as good as you're going to do. And I'm sure that Marjorie understands that. She's a very good friend of mine, and I know she has a lot of respect for the Speaker.
And Trump said the nation has much bigger problems at hand, such as the border and inflation. Right now, back in Tennessee with a crime story. Fox 17 reports that 31-year-old Joshua Coffey is in jail after being accused of shooting and killing 27-year-old Al Capone Branch at an apartment on University Court. This happened last night around midnight. Coffey claims they got in an argument. Branch was found with a gunshot to the head. Coffey was free on bond at the time of this shooting from a vehicle theft charge. That was from 2 weeks ago. And a report card on anti-Semitism. It's on college campuses in the United States. Derek Dennis.
The Anti-Defamation League has released its first ever campus anti-Semitism report card measuring campus climate and university policies for the protection of Jewish students at schools across the country. In all, 86 schools were graded on a scale of A to F. Just 2 schools, Brandeis and Elon University, with an A, 16 getting a B, 28 given a C, 25 got a D, and 15 schools received an F, including MIT, Harvard, Tufts, Michigan State, and UC Santa Barbara. ADL CEO Jonathan Greenblatt says school leadership must make serious changes.
And tigers at the Nashville Zoo. 3 endangered Sumatran tiger cubs, Bulan, Zara, and Kirana, that were born last fall are now comfortable and ready to view. The habitat is open daily from 9 a.m. to noon starting today. Before visiting, guests should call or check the zoo's website to check on availability. Only 400 to 600 Sumatran tigers are left in the wild. And that's the latest news, traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandison. I love my Patriot Supply. It's emergency food so you can care for your family no matter what. And today, we're fixing creamy chicken flavored rice. And the thing I love about my Patriot Supply, it's easy. You just get the water, turn on the heat, and in minutes, we are ready to go. Now, this food lasts for 25 years in special packaging, and yes, it does taste great. And in just minutes, it's ready to eat. Patriots don't rely on the government to take care of their family in emergencies. It's up to you. Order right now and get $200 off a 3-month food kit. It's important to go to preparewithmandis.com to get that great discount. That's preparewithmandis.com to get that great discount. Preparewithmandis.com. $200 off a 3-month food kit.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. 7 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair on this Friday. The sun is breaking through the clouds, and we got a pleasant 66 degrees. It's sort of blustery this morning and cool, but maybe the late afternoon is going to turn off into be not too bad. Well, while you're trying to get home, we're going to give you all kinds of news and information, and we're going to start by taking a trip down to the swamp. It's an ugly, nasty, ooky-gooky place, all kinds of muck and guck and goo. But I spent 31 years down there, so I can help understand. I speak fluent swamp, and I'll try to guide you through some of the things that are happening. One of the things that happened in the swamp, as you know, is that there is a motion to vacate the chair that has been filed by Marjorie Taylor Greene against Speaker Mike Johnson. And Mike Johnson, the trigger hasn't been pulled on it, but it could be at any time. Marjorie Taylor Greene not happy with some of the things that the speaker has done. So it was interesting today to see the speaker at Mar-a-Lago standing side by side with the presumptive nominee of the Republican Party, Donald Trump, the former president. And he got a nice warm sort of arm around the shoulder, and he said positive things about him. I get along very well with the speaker, sort of a brushback and all that to that Marjorie Taylor Greene was bringing. I think he was trying to send a signal that I'm okay with this guy and enough with this nonsense about vacating the chair. And I think it probably will have a very big help to the speaker down in the swamp. As he continues to go forward with the razor-thin margin that he has. I think he's got 1 or 2 votes he can lose right now. And if you can't get all Republicans to stick together on something, which is really hard to do right now, you can't get anything done. So perhaps Trump's support for the speaker will push back on some of the people who are asking that maybe it's time to change speaker. Let's hear a little bit about what Speaker Johnson had to say, though, because he brought up an interesting point. The real reason for their meeting was to discuss election integrity, and he explained, why the border crisis could present a real problem for the looming election and what Republicans are going to do about it.
But among the problems that flows from this open border catastrophe is directly related to this threat to our election integrity. Why is that? You need to understand something really important about federal law. Since 1993, the National Voter Registration Act, we call it the Motor Voter Law, allows people to sign up to vote when they get a driver's license. If an individual only asserts or simply states that they are a citizen, they don't have to prove it. They can register that person to vote in a federal election. And you see, states are currently prohibited. Believe it or not, the states are prohibited from asking someone to prove that they're a citizen. The federal voter registration form just has a check-a-box, and if you do that, you're good. The states can't allow it. Well, we think that's a serious problem. And so what we're going to do is the House Republicans are introducing a bill that will require proof of citizenship to vote.
Well, that's a good idea. Will it have any real chance of passage? No, but what it will do is it will explain the issue to the American people, and the Republicans will be able to look at the Democrats and say, well, why is it that you want people who are not American citizens to vote? A pretty good question. They're going to have to explain that vote, aren't they? And therein lies a good 30-second political ad that can be run against Democrats. This Democrat wants foreigners and illegal aliens to vote in your election. Ask him why. You'll even have the much talked about, occasionally you hear about it. This is what they do. The Democrats want illegal aliens to vote in your election. That's called a bram.
Vibrated my eardrums a little bit.
I know. But how many times have you heard that used in a political ad?
Yeah.
Something like that. The Democrats are all about having illegal aliens vote in your election. Ask your congressman why he feels it's so important for people who are not citizens to vote in your upcoming election. I could probably do a spot for them if they wanted.
Yeah, just email URFARB.
That's right. No. By the way, before he went down to Mar-a-Lago, the House did pass a controversial spying bill. The House passed legislation Friday to renew a controversial national security spying power as House Speaker Mike Johnson made changes to the bill to overcome a last-minute intervention from former President Donald Trump and objections from hardline conservatives. The bill extending the Foreign Service Surveillance Act was approved 273 to 147, capping a bitter year-long fight in the chamber that aligned some conservatives and progressives in seeking more privacy protections against congressional leadership and the Biden administration, which warned that deep changes to the law could put American lives in danger. This, according to the Wall Street Journal. That happened early today. Let's see. The current president of the United States, according to the New York Post, is giving taxpayers and the Supreme Court the finger. You know what finger I'm talking about, on this student loan bailout. From the New York Post. When the Supreme Court struck down Joe Biden's attempt to unilaterally cancel $400 billion in student loans and blasted the president for overstepping his power by trying to circumvent Congress, he listened and, like a serious statement, acknowledged his authority's limits and then tried to get the legislative branch to pass his agenda. No, that's not what he did. We're just kidding. Congress, which has the power of the purse, has repeatedly rejected Biden's plan to force taxpayers to eat the losses for millions of Americans' student loans. But instead of taking no for an answer, the president, who was supposed to put the grown-ups back in charge and restore the rule of law, just keeps trying to cancel the debt anyway, first through a backdoor giveaway, vastly expanding income-based repayment systems, and now through another sweeping forgiveness proposal. Here's the thing. This latest round will cost taxpayers some $84 billion, and it may not even be legal. But he can cancel the debt and send out the letters before the Supreme Court can tell him you can't do that. You know, he'll say, oops, well, too bad. It's too late now. It's been done. He is giving the finger to the Supreme Court. He truly is. And here's the other thing. When you add it to the $475 billion in student loan debt forgiveness that has already been done by this president, it comes to $500 billion, $559 billion. But if you think this is like, poor, low-income people who went to college and are having a hard time paying back their loan, well, there is some of that. I will grant you there's a certain amount of that is happening. But here's one thing that's going to piss you off. The new plan, according to an analysis done by the Penn Wharton Business School, will relieve some longer-term debt students for about 750,000 households. 750,000, that's 750,000 people, will have their debt forgiven, even though their average household income is $312,000 a year. This is a giveaway to the rich. The main reason for this high average is that the SAVE plan has already provided long-term debt to households with lower incomes. So 750,000 people who make good money and are entirely capable of paying back their student loans are going to get debt forgiveness. And the average is somewhere between $25,000 and $35,000 in forgiveness. Wow. $312,000 a year and you can't pay back your student loan? That's not right. Why should we be paying the student loans of people who make $312,000 a year? Why should you and I be doing that? Why should we be doing it at all, quite frankly? It was a loan. Last time I checked, loan is money that you get from somebody with a promise to return it with interest. That's a loan. But, why are we giving these kinds of givebacks to people who are making a good, solid living? $312,000, that's a good wage. In anybody's book, you're making $312,000 a year, you're doing okay. And maybe, and when we get to our second round of Phone Your Farb Friday, somebody will have something to say about that. And then there's this, the government efficiency at work. The U.S. Treasury allocated $350 billion in state and local fiscal recovery funds to tribal governments, the District of Columbia, local governments, and U.S. territories. It was all COVID relief money, right? Right? According to some of the information that we're getting now, there's a great deal of the money remains unspent. Deadlines for obligating and spending the money are approaching. They have until December 31st of 24 to allocate these funds. All but 8 states reported spending at least 25% of their award. Eight states reported spending 75% of their awards. Minnesota spent almost all of it. Alaska spent almost all of it. But there are a lot of states out there where they couldn't even spend the money. They had so much money on their hands, they couldn't figure out ways to spend it. Yet we gave them billions and billions and billions. Your government is not the most efficient thing in the world. I promise you, it really is not. This is just another example of how, what's Wilson's number one rule? Congress doesn't act, it reacts. And when you have something come down like COVID, it acts, but actually it's more than that. It overreacts. Well, we must send billions and billions and billions of dollars to the tribes, to the District of Columbia, to the states and the federal and the local government. We have to send out all of this $1 billion because of COVID. And the money's still sitting there, and they haven't even been able to figure out ways to spend it. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, we need to bring some fiscal sense back to what we're doing. And I think there's only one way that happens, and that's it if you make the right decision in November. 20 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock. Grace Point Healthcare is the standard for affordable, comprehensive, and convenient medicine. Well, how? Well, as a direct pay provider, your healthcare is delivered without red tape that comes with insurers' guidelines. You don't want your insurance company getting in the middle of your healthcare decisions, do you? Well, this is one way to get around it. Smart Care plans make it even more affordable. Starting at $69 a month, you get free office visits and basic labs for the entire year. Grace Point identifies and treats the root causes of condition, not just the symptoms, utilizing a comprehensive, functional approach. And by seeing you usually the same day, maybe the next day, you're treated at your convenience. That's a great bonus, isn't it? Grace Point Healthcare, affordable, comprehensive, and convenient medical care delivered the old-fashioned way. They're located on Main Street in Franklin. Here's the number, 615-599-6868. Again, that is 599-6868 to set up your appointment.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Former President Trump showing he stands by Speaker Johnson, a traveling minister accused of child rape, and MLB superstar Shohei Ohtani, officially a free man. Those stories, 5:30 Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
All right, that's Mac Morey. He'll have all your stories in the news. And a reminder that coming up in just a short bit of while after the news at the bottom of the hour, it'll be round 2 of Phone Your Farb Friday. But first, you thought I forgot, didn't you?
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat.
That's right. It's time for Mac Morey's wild, wacky world of sports. That's right. You know him, you love him, you can't live without him. Here is the host of your program, the one, the only, the incomparable, Mac Morey, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. And the
Had
crowd
that extra
goes
echo
wild.
thing in it.
I like that.
And the crowd goes wild.
That's a good new addition. That's nice.
All right, well, good. Hang on. Here comes. All right, Mac, what do we got today?
Well, a Masters update as we are in day 2 of the tournament.
What kind of sport is that now? Masters?
Masters.
It's only the arguably the best sporting event all year. Come on, Weber. Aren't you going to be glued to the couch as you take a nap Saturday and Sunday?
I will be glued to the couch, but I won't be watching the Masters.
That's fair.
Sorry.
That's fair. Well, Tiger Woods did make the cut today to get into round 3 and round 4. This is now his 24th consecutive made cut. That's a new record. So this is a huge day.
Who had
just
the
in that
record
regard.
beforehand, Mac?
That's a good question. I believe it was. I mean, part of me wants to say Jack Nicklaus, but I don't really know.
Nice one, Brian. You put him on the spot.
I know.
I know. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
Now let me look that up.
Now we got to look it up.
So what this means is that this Tiger Woods guy is pretty good at golf.
Yeah.
I think he's got a future in this.
You might be all right. I will say this: I did see a little bit of it yesterday, just because it was on the TV in here of the Tiger's first round. Tiger is awfully buff these days.
Yeah,
he used to be a little slim guy, but he's bulked up a lot over the years.
Yeah, he's got to have that muscle to fight his knee, his ankle, his whole leg. Yeah, his back.
Yeah.
So he's using that upper frame to get power. He can still drive with the best of them, which is insane. And he actually looked pretty good today. It's weird. They cut away from him when he walks up hills, which makes you kind of a little skeptical of how well he really is doing, because you got to watch the gait in his walk. He looks a little...
He struggles a bit.
He does struggle a bit. He looked really good on day 1, but he played 23 holes today. Round 1 was cut short for a lot of the golfers yesterday, so he had to start on 13 and then take a little break, come back, play a full 18. He actually looked pretty good today. That record was previously tied with Fred Couples and Gary Player.
Couple of golf legends right there.
Exactly. Gary, of course, teeing off on hole 1, Gary, along with Jack and a couple other golf legends, as is Masters tradition. Looking at the leaderboard, Bryson DeChambeau, he went 7 under yesterday. He went +1 today. That brings him to 6 under. He's tied with Scheffler and Max Homa. They're all at 6 under. Then you got Højgaard. I don't know. He's 4 under. Sweden, I believe. Morawaka, -3 under. And then Tiger Woods making the cut. He is +1. So he went even today, going +1 yesterday. So not a bad round. He's been pretty solid. Nothing crazy. Had a great highlight yesterday. So we'll see how that goes into Saturday and Sunday. Hopefully Tiger can at least be semi-relevant. But the fact that he is, there's much younger, more quote-unquote in their prime golfers. Brooks Koepka's +1. Tiger Woods is beating him or tied with him. So for him to at least be at this level, we didn't necessarily think that was possible. Him playing golf, let alone at this level, is pretty cool. And then going over to the ice, just keeping up, guys. Predators, 3 games left in the season. The playoffs will start, I believe, that'll be next weekend. The playoffs will start, and guaranteed 2 home playoff games, up 3 points against the Knights in that first wild card spot. So just trying to keep that lead and keep that first wild card spot. That starts tonight at Chicago against the Blackhawks, and then they'll play the Blue Jackets at Bridgestone tomorrow, and I will be at that game. I'm pumped.
Oh, good. That'll be fun.
So you're not going to jinx things, are you? It didn't go so well the last time you were at Bridgestone, right?
Last time we lost 10-1. So hopefully it's a little better go around this time.
And that means that next week we will propel them and give them a great start into the playoffs.
Right.
By playing it's a smash hit Throw that catfish down, son.
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm still
It's a
waiting for
tradition,
this
by
to
the way.
catch fire, and I'm shocked and amazed that it has yet to really.
It's a good tune.
It really is.
No, it
It's
actually
a
is.
great tune.
It
And by
actually
the way,
is.
you know the story on that is that I wrote the lyrics, and then a friend of mine named Buddy Hyatt wrote the music, and we went into a recording studio with, I mean, the top Nashville musicians. I mean, Brent Mason plays the lead guitar on this thing, and he just tears it up.
Yes, he does.
And I mean, we had the really good players there at that day, and you know, I don't understand why the Predators organization has sort of turned its nose up at it.
Yeah, cling on to that. That would be great.
I mean, I would jump on that like nobody's business. It's such a good tune.
It's probably, you know who it is? It's the guy that has to clean those fish up off the ice.
Oh, yeah.
After they're thrown out there,
but
he's
you
like,
say
no,
that,
we can't do this.
You say that, but I noticed that in their in their ads on TV, they have a catfish on the ice.
Really?
So they don't walk away from that.
Well,
They do
that
like
changes everything.
They do like that branding because whenever the football players, the linemen, you know, Taylor Lewan used to go to the games, he'd bring out a big catfish and chug a beer. It's you know, it's good for the environment, I guess. Most likely playoff matchup, Vancouver Canucks. So that's what the catfish song will be ready for and hyping up starting next weekend.
All right, well, we've got it all queued up and ready to go. All right, it is now time for. By the way, we're just a few minutes away from Phone Your Farb Friday, 615-737-9986. Get on the line early, get set up, get your thoughts together. But right now, time for the news on Super Talk.
.5:30, I'm Mac Maury with your top story. 65 degrees in Nashville. That sun and warmth coming even in a bigger way starting tomorrow. Latest traffic report and a weekend weather forecast in 5 minutes. A show of Republican unity among party leadership at Mar-a-Lago. House Speaker Mike Johnson and former President Trump holding a joint news conference following their meeting today. The president saying that Speaker Johnson's doing a great job under very tough circumstances. Trump then turning his attention to the race for the White House.
I appreciate he came to Mar-a-Lago. We have a great conference, and there's a big turnout because people want this to be healed. They want our country to be healed. They want our country to be united.
Back here in Tennessee, this just in, Channel 4 reports that Murfreesboro officials are asking any potential victims of a traveling minister accused of rape to come forward. 32-year-old Benjamin Sean Garlick, along with his wife Chantel, were charged back in September on multiple child abuse charges. The investigation shows that he traveled as a minister primarily in Hispanic communities across the country. He's now in custody on an $825,000 bond. His wife now free after posting a $75,000 bond. And the former interpreter for Major League Baseball superstar Shohei Ohtani made his first appearance in court in L.A. today. Ippei Mitsuhara is accused of stealing $16 million from Ohtani to cover gambling debts. Alex Stone reports from Southern Cal.
Ippei Mitsuhara is a free man again on $25,000 bail in court. The judge allowed Mitsuhara to post bail ahead of an arraignment next month, but under terms of his bail, he cannot travel outside of Southern California, had to surrender his passport, and he has to get gambling addiction help. Plus, he's not allowed to do any gambling or talk to any bookmakers. Mitsuhara is charged with a single count of bank fraud and could get up to 30 years in federal prison if convicted.
And that is the latest news, weather, traffic report next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandison. I love my Patriot Supply. It's emergency food so you can care for your family no matter what. And today, we're fixing creamy chicken-flavored rice. And the thing I love about my Patriot Supply, it's easy. You just get the water, turn on the heat, and in minutes, we are ready to go. Now, this food lasts for 25 years in special packaging, and yes, it does taste great. And in just minutes, it's ready to eat. Patriots don't rely on the government to take care of their family in emergencies. It's up to you. Order right now and get $200 off a 3-month food kit. It's important to go to preparewithmandis.com to get that great discount. That's preparewithmandis.com to get that great discount. Preparewithmandis.com. $200 off a 3-month food kit.
Hey, if you're in the market for a pole barn, you got to talk to the brothers that run Stoltz Co. Two guys who can help you out. The exceptional quality, craftsmanship, and fair prices. They can build your new pole barn to your specifications with your needs in mind. And that, my friends, is the Stoltz Co. difference. You can use pole barns for all kinds of things. It can function as a classic tool or a work barn, a garage. Have you heard of barn dominiums? They do them too. They combine the classic post-frame barn look with the reliability of modern materials and techniques to give you a finished barn that will stand the test of time. They don't scrimp on quality and they don't cut corners. They believe their customers deserve only the best. Just do me a favor. Just go to their website, stoltzco.com, STOLTZCO.com. Take a look at some of the projects they have completed for other people, and you'll get it. You'll understand. Then give them a call, 615-622-5992. Stoltz Co., where quality workmanship, and great customer service is affordable. Learn more at stoltzco.com. That is stoltzco.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
"38 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair and on the air, and it is time for round two of a little thing we like to call Phone Your FARB Friday. Here's the number, 615-737-9986, 615-737-9986. Get on the line. Tell us what's on your mind. Maybe you got a burr in your saddle, you got a bee in your bonnet. I've got a wasp in my studio. And maybe you've got a bug in a place. I've got a bug in a place where there really shouldn't ever be a bug. But, just get on our 100,000-watt soapbox and express it. I got one light. Well, actually, it just filled up. But as we answer some of these calls, there'll be more lines that are open. We will start with Mike in South Pittsburgh. Mike, you're on with Brian on the drive. What's on your mind, Mike?
What's going on, Brother Brian?
I said just trying to get the job done each day. What's on your mind?
You know what gets my goat besides striking out some skimpy pizzas? is Token Joe just loves to spend other people's money.
Yeah.
Why not, instead of putting the tax burden on the taxpayers of this debt forgiveness, why not just make these universities that got billion-dollar endowments because of overcharging for an education anyway, just have them simply drop the debt?
Yeah, that would be a nice thing. Look, one way or the other, but I don't like the idea of somebody taking out a loan and then just saying, well, it's hard to pay back loans and I don't really want to pay it back. And then for no other reason except that they're trying to buy political votes, they forgive the debt. That's not right. It's not right for the American people who did not take out a loan, who paid for their kids' education or decided not to go to college. There's so many things about this that is wrong. I really do believe in the long run that it's going to backfire on them. I think more people are going to be irritated about it than votes they get for people who are happy to have their college loan debt retired. Thank you for the call, Mike. Let's go to Karen in Mount Juliet. Hello, Karen. You're on with Brian. What's on your mind today, Karen?
Hey, I've been listening to y'all's show for a long time. I just wanted to suggest there's a lot of political things that aggravate me that I would like to do something about, and I'm always told, well, one person can't do anything about it. But your collective audience, if you all came up with ideas to tell us what to do to stop some of this or help it besides wait until November and vote, we'd love to be able to do that, like write letters. Who do we write to? Who do we talk to? And
Well,
I'll just stop at that.
Yeah, well, let me just say this. A lot of people say one person can't do anything, but one of the things that I have found, and I'm telling you, this is true. On Capitol Hill and in our own state legislature, it is true. Even up on, like the City Hall. If enough people call and complain about something, it gets their attention. I have been walking with senators, and they would run into a staff member. And then they would turn to the staff member and say, how are the phones running on the question X, Y, or Z, whatever it was? And they wanted to know because that would inform how they intended to vote. So if you feel strongly about something, you think that calling doesn't do any good, it does do some good. And if enough people call and express outrage and it gets noted, that word gets to the elected official in a big way. So never hesitate to call. And get other people to call, because if enough people call, they get the message. They really do, because you know what they want more than anything else? To get reelected. And if enough people are mad at them, they get the message. All right, let's go to Kit in Cookville. Kit, you're on with Brian on the drive.
Hey, Brian. So I've got a burr in my saddle and a bee in my bonnet.
Okay.
The burr in my saddle is hurting me because the taxpayers are going to have to pay to rebuild the Key Bridge when we know good and well that ship has insurance to pay for that, right?
You said ship, right?
The cargo. The cargo
okay.
ship.
I thought you might have said. I thought you might have said another word, and I was going to have to hit the button. No, you're right. No, you're absolutely right. Here's what I think people don't understand about this. When you have a disaster like that, and there's a big economic hit to a community, a state, and actually it could have economic repercussions to our national economy, because that's a very important port, and billions of dollars of goods and services go in and out of that port. I think it's important to know that you're going to get it repaired as quickly as possible. Now, that said, you can rest assured, and I've heard the Secretary of Treasury say this, that the federal government will go to the insurance company and reclaim that money, but by approving the money to get it fixed through the federal government, it makes sure that the things get started right away. We're not waiting for months and months and months of litigation. So I don't have a real problem with them putting forth the money, as long as they do claw it back from the insurance company. And yes, you're right. The insurance company will be paying a big sum for this one. And the Secretary of Treasury said that their plan is to go after it. So I think there's a little bit of misunderstanding about that.
Okay, did you know that the crew of 22 from India have not been allowed to step off that ship yet?
No, I hadn't heard that. No.
Yeah, they are stuck on there because they don't have the proper paperwork to step on American soil.
Well,
Imagine
the good news is that ship was loaded up to go for for a couple of months at sea. So they got food and everything they need to be okay. But yeah, I know I haven't heard that. Thanks a lot for the call, Kit. Appreciate it. Tom in Lebanon, you're up next. Hello, Tom. What's on your mind today?
Well, I was wondering, this is not the reason I called, but couldn't you stick Rogu on that wasp? My question was about White House spokesman. I've been dying to ask you for a while, who was your favorite White House spokesman, regardless of what party it was in? I know you didn't cover the White House the whole time you were there, probably, but I was wondering who your favorite one was, Republican or Democrat. And did you know, I believe his name was Tony Snow.
Yes,
I did know Tony Snow. He was only in there a short time.
Yeah.
And I wondered, I thought he was great.
Yeah.
I really liked him, but I heard he died of cancer.
He did die of cancer, and I was his colleague when he left Fox News to go to the White House and take that job. So I knew him very well, hung out with him. We talked guitar a lot because he was also a guitarist. He really liked that kind of stuff. But he went over, and you're right, shortly after he got to the White House, he developed cancer and passed away a short time later. I did love Tony Snow. I had an affection, believe it or not, for Joe Lockhart, who was Clinton's press secretary for a time, simply because I thought he was fun to watch. I mean, you go into a briefing and you would ask him a question and he would jut out his jaw like, "I got you that time." And he'd stick out his jaw like, "Hit me again." But he was always, I thought, even though he didn't like Fox News, he treated me fairly, I thought. But I guess my favorite would be Marlon Fitzwater. Marlon Fitzwater was a lovely man. And not really meant for television, but everybody loved Marlon. And I'll never forget that I was at an event where I was hosting a dinner, and President Bush was my guest. And I was really looking forward to getting the opportunity to introduce my parents to President H.W. Bush at the time, right? And I was looking forward to that, and I really was excited about it. And I made arrangements to do that, and I've introduced my mom and dad to President Bush. And since they were both from West Texas, they had spent some time in West Texas, they had things to talk about. And then it was my job to then escort the president around the room and have him talk to other people. And I had to leave my parents in this, this black tie affair, which was not their scene at all. And Marlon Fitzwater just walked in behind me and grabbed my mom and dad by the elbow and just took care of them and made sure that they got to their seats properly, and was just a lovely, lovely gesture on his part, because he knew I had responsibilities, and he just took care of them, which I thought was a classy thing to do. And I've always had a special place in my heart for Marlon Fitzwater because of that. Hope that's a good story for you there, Tom. Thanks a lot for the call. Let's see. Jerry in Murfreesboro. What's up, Jerry?
Oh, they can always send the crew over to Mexico. They can fly them over here and have them walk over, and then they'll give them the $500 thanks to what a week for us dummies to pay for. But that's not what I'm calling for. I was just calling about the end of the Republic. It's been a great 250 years, glorious. It was wonderful, but I just think that all we have here is we just have little fiefdoms. They're not going to do anything to this traitor that's walking around wet diapers and wet socks, doesn't know what plan he's on. And if you remember, there was a guy that right at the end of Trump's term that came out, I think it was in the DOJ, that flat out said that he disobeyed his orders. And what happened to him? Nothing. Absolutely nothing ever happens to them. It's the end of the Republic. I'm sorry. We're done.
Well, it is disheartening at times, isn't it, to sit back and care greatly about your country and see things happen that you feel are just so incredibly wrong. But I try to fight that temptation, and people call me, little Mary Sunshine, just a big old optimist. But I do have optimism because I know how the system was designed, and I know how it can work and how it should work, and I think that we should never give up. And so to me, failure is stopping, getting to the point where you stop caring. And so as frustrating as it is, I try to keep a good attitude about it and continue to hope that indeed we can get things back on the rails. I hope that we can. We certainly have got a long way to go to get to that, but that's the goal, and I'm just not going to give up. I'm not going to quit. Let's see, Brian, who spells, do you spell your name with an I or a Y, Brian?
I.
Well, that's the proper way. What's on your mind today, Brian?
Boy, I tell you what, I am so angry. I'm like what do you call it in the South? A wet and setting hen or something like that?
Yeah,
mad
as an old wet hen. Yeah.
I went to a dealership. Excellent score. My chest is out. They are smoking crack. Interest rate, I get a payment at $1,100 a month for 48 months. That's enough for a house or close to a house.
Yeah.
And I had to walk out. It was so ridiculous. I hope they sit and rot. That's all I can say. I mean, I'm just so angry.
You know, I got very lucky because I got in just before interest rates went up, and I got a 0% loan. Ford was running a special deal at the time, and so I'm not paying any interest on my particular truck loan, and I consider myself incredibly fortunate. And you know, the dealers they need to sell cars. And if they can't find good financing for you from time to time, they will do special things for people who have good credit. And offer them 0% or 1% or 2% loans. So they're out there. You just got to wait for those specials to come by. But what you're talking about is, of course, interest rates being high because our economy is out of whack, and you have only one person to blame for that. His name is Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., and he is fully responsible for it. I think, Chris, I don't know about you, I think I'm going to award this to the second round.
We are in agreement. Yeah. 5
right,
o'clock was really strong.
The 5 o'clock, really strong. You did a great job, everybody. Greatly appreciate it. It is 51 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock. All right, I've been doing it the last few days. You know, at night I get a little cold and I turn on the heater, and then in the morning, you know, as the morning sun starts to set in, you know, and it gets a little warmer, I start to turn on the air conditioner. You got to have your HVAC working both sides of it this time of year. And if you're finding that, well, one side or the other is just not working, why don't you call the people I would call, the folks at Busy Bee HVAC and Plumbing, 615-775-7833. And they will buzz over to your house and get you back up and running. They've been there for me every time I had a problem, and I've been nothing but well satisfied with my service. Now, the way you keep these things running without any hiccups is to do preventative maintenance, and that's what the Beehive Club is all about. Become a Beehive member. Starting at $99, you get 3 thorough maintenance services on your system, one aimed at heating, one aimed at cooling, one aimed at plumbing. No overtime charges 24/7 and 10% off all repairs. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling is your official Rude Pro partner, so for satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 775-7833 online at busybeehvac.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
You know, Beacon Capital Management has an annual shred day. It's just a few days after tax day, which is Monday, on a Saturday, April 20th, from 8 to 11. Just join them at the Beacon Capital Management parking lot in Cool Springs, and they'll shred anything you might want to get rid of. All those documents can be gone, turned into little tiny bits of paper. And you might want to do this. You might want to go and check out this free retirement savings calculator that Beacon Capital Management has created to help you make an informed decision about your retirement. It's fast and it's free. It only takes a few moments. Then you'll get some idea of where you are. And you just go to askbeaconnow.com for that. And then you're probably going to want to call them, because I think you're going to be surprised at how far behind you are. And you need to get back on track so you can retire without any worry. I mean, that's what it's why you don't want to worry during retirement, or worry now that you haven't got enough for retirement. So get on the phone with them, 615-488-9303. Let them get some information. Let them ask you some questions, and let them come up with a plan for you. Replace the worry with confidence. You're on the right path. 615-488-9303. The experts at Beacon stand ready to take your stress away. Learn more at askbeaconnow.com.
.601, I'm Mac Maury with your top story. 64 degrees, mostly sunny in Nashville. Going to get sunnier, going to get warmer this weekend. Highs in the 70s tomorrow, highs in the 80s on Sunday. Traffic, weekend weather forecast, it's all coming up. 5 minutes. A show of Republican unity among party leadership at Mar-a-Lago. House Speaker Mike Johnson and former President Trump holding a joint news conference following their meeting today. Speaker Johnson sounding optimistic about November elections.
With President Trump as our nominee in the party, we are very much looking forward to that historic day in November, because we are going to grow the House majority, we're going to win the United States Senate, and we're going to win back the White House as well.
And former President Trump said of Johnson's performance that he's, quote, doing about as good as a job as you're going to do, and I'm sure that Marjorie Taylor Greene understands that. An active investigation in Tennessee, Clarksville officials looking for a man who allegedly fired shots into an occupied apartment. It happened this morning. 25-year-old Andre Clifton is wanted for these crimes that happened off of Jack Miller Boulevard. He allegedly fired 6 rounds before fleeing in a maroon 4-door car. Officials found that vehicle, and they now believe him to be in a Chevy Impala. If you have any information or see him, you're asked to call 911. More U.S. troops headed to the Middle East as officials say they're worried Iran is poised to strike Israel. Ann Flaherty with more.
With tensions in the Middle East at an all-time high, the U.S. military is now moving additional troops and assets to the region. U.S. officials tell ABC News the goal will be to try to deter Iran and to protect troops in the region. According to 2 U.S. officials, Iran has readied more than 100 cruise missiles for a potential strike.
Back here in Tennessee, got a crime story. A woman died due to an overdose of meth and fentanyl, and the source of that fatal concoction now arrested. It was on March 19th that Lebanon police found the female body. Castor Williams was indicted for second-degree murder and taken into custody yesterday. In some entertainment news, a Golden Bachelor bombshell. The Golden Bachelor and his bride splitting up after 3 months of marriage. Jason Nathanson.
It certainly seemed like 71-year-old Gary Turner and his 70-year-old bride, Teresa Nist, were in love when they were married in January after meeting on the ABC reality show, The Golden Bachelor.
We have a trust that cannot be broken.
But in a shocking turn of events, it turns out Turner and Nist couldn't make it work.
It's probably time for us to dissolve our marriage.
They broke the devastating news to ABC's Juju Chang.
Did you fall out of love?
No.
Who tried to get a concrete answer out of them as to why or how things broke down, but we didn't really get a reason.
It's a head scratcher.
And that is the latest news. Traffic, weather on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
What an absolute mess. Hey, it's Dan Mandison. Look at my closets. Unorganized to say the least. Even my window dormer is a train wreck. Stuff is everywhere. Now, luckily, California Closets is coming to my rescue. My personal design consultant, Vince, stopped by, measured, and is now showing me how to become more space efficient and organized on his 3D CAD system. It is amazing. And soon, my space is going to be organized, and yes, even Bandit approves. California Closets, a local company that can customize the storage in any room of your house. California Closets, what can they do for you? Find them online at californiaclosets.com and reach out for your free in-home consultation.
Well, good evening, everyone. 7 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy. On this Friday afternoon, April 12th, we got a lot of ground to cover here in the last hour. If you missed it earlier today, the former president of the United States and the current Speaker of the House had a press conference at Mar-a-Lago, and there was a lot of news that came out with that with regard to election integrity, and it was really sort of a moment where Donald Trump put his arm around the shoulder of the Speaker and let everybody know that he was completely fine with Speaker Mike Johnson, which might alleviate some of his problems. As you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene filed a motion to vacate, and that's sort of sitting in the background as a sort of a threat to the current speaker at a time when the House of Representatives has controlled by Republicans by a 2-vote or 1-vote margin at times. So we'll get into that, and we'll play out a long section of that press conference after the news at the bottom of the hour. And right now, I just want to say that we need to talk about the situation in the Mideast, because things are looking pretty grim in the Mideast right now. So let's do a little background. October 7th, Hamas comes across the border, kills a bunch of people in Israel, and then Israel responds, and you know that the war's been going on since October 7th between Israel and the forces of Hamas. Hezbollah acting badly in the region, and both of those organizations are organizations that are supported by Iran. So the other day, Israel takes a strike on a Iranian compound inside nearby Syria, and takes out the diplomatic compound in Syria, and in doing so kills a very high-ranking Iranian general. The folks in Israel not happy with this, of course. They look at it as a sort of ginning up a larger sort of conflict in the region, and they say that they will respond. Now comes word that response could come maybe as early as tomorrow, within the next 48 hours. From the Wall Street Journal, Iranian attack expected on Israel in the next 2 days. Israel is preparing for an imminent direct attack from Iran. Tehran yet to decide, says a person briefed on the matter. Dateline Tel Aviv. Israel is preparing for a direct attack from Iran on southern or northern Israel as soon as Friday or Saturday, according to a person familiar with the matter. A person briefed by the Iranian leadership, however, said that while plans to attack are being discussed, no final decision has been made. Iran has publicly threatened to retaliate for an attack last week in Damascus that Tehran said was an Israeli airstrike on a diplomatic building. The strike killed top Iranian military officials, including a senior member of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps elite Quds force. All right, so that's the Wall Street Journal. Here is Newsmax. White House reportedly imminent Iran attack on Israel is a viable threat. Reportedly imminent attack by Iran on Israel is a real and viable threat, the White House said on Friday, giving no details about possible timing and reiterating that the United States takes its commitments to defend Israel seriously. In fact, the president said as much after an event today. He was talking to black leaders on a Zoom call, and then while he was there at the end, he paused to answer one question from reporters about the situation between Israel and Iran.
We are devoted to the defense of Israel. We will support Israel. We will help defend Israel, and Iran will not succeed. Thank you very much.
All right, White House National Security Council spokesman John Kirby added that the United States is looking at its own force posture in the region in light of Tehran's threat and is watching the situation very, very closely. Now, that's where we get interested in this. Remember, we have a lot of ships in the various bodies of water in that particular part of the world. We have a lot of ships out there. We have military personnel splayed across the entire region in places like Iraq and inside Syria. And we have a lot of people there who are in the crosshairs and the crossfire of anything that might develop between Iran and Israel. And now you've just heard the president say is that we will stand with Israel on this. And if we do stand with Israel, the question is, how deeply do we get involved? I think my guess is, and it's just a guess, no inside information here, but my theory is that what they would like to do is, if Iran fires, let's say, a volley of missiles against Israel, we do have anti-missile capabilities in the region, aboard ships and other places. Maybe we could intercept them, and that would be our role. But Iran has told the United States, stay out of it. This is not your fight. And so, do we want to get dragged into a larger fight? Could there be a larger war in the region? So Israel attacks, Iran attacks Israel, and Iran, Israel then widens up the war, and then maybe some other players in the region who don't like Israel get into the thing, and then it's on, and we would be involved in that, I would imagine. That's where it is. I don't mean to overstate the situation, but the entire region is on tenterhooks right now. And if something starts to happen, it's very easy for the United States to be dragged into it because we could lose people as well in this kind of a thing. From FoxNews.com, imminent attack from Iran keeps Israel on alert as U.S. admits credible threat from the terror state. U.S. continues to closely monitor what it deems to be credible threats of an Iranian attack on Israel in response to a strike on Iran's Damascus consulate. The U.S. is moving additional assets into the Middle East region to bolster regional deterrence efforts and increase force protections for U.S. forces, a U.S. defense official told Fox News on Friday. I would just say that we're watching this very, very closely, says John Kirby to reporters today. We still deem the potential threat by Iran here to be real, to be viable, certainly credible, and we're watching it as closely as we possibly can. Right now, our focus is on having a conversation with our Israeli counterparts and making sure, not just conversations, but making sure they have what they need and that they're able to defend themselves. We're also clear it would be imprudent if we didn't take a look at our own posture in the region to make sure we're properly prepared as well. Kirby assured the United States remains in constant communication with Israeli counterparts, but he refused to be an armchair quarterback in a public way in terms of conversations we're having and what we're seeing in the intelligence picture. Most important thing we do in a situation like this is share intelligence. Tehran has continued to threaten a response against Israel for the attack on the consulate in Damascus that killed 7 Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps members, including 2 generals. U.S. CENTCOM General Michael Kurilla has been in Israel, where he met with the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force chief, and Israeli Minister of Defense to assess military preparedness, moving up his plans due to the threat from Iran. Pentagon Press Secretary Major General Pat Ryder confirmed during a press conference Thursday. Ryder did not speculate as to any specific threats from Iran or Israel, even as Tehran continues to promise action. Here's another story, this one from the Financial Times, I believe. Oh, no, this is Bloomberg, excuse me. Israel is bracing for a direct and unprecedented attack by Iran on government targets as soon as Saturday, according to people familiar with Western intelligence assessments, a move that has the potential to trigger an all-out regional war, and that's not an overstatement. And what does this mean to you and me? Really, honestly, I'm talking about something that seems like a half a world away. But what does it mean to you and me? Well, oil prices went through the roof upon all this news, as you might imagine. West Texas Intermediate crude now selling for $85 a barrel. Brent crude selling at $90.45 a barrel. Natural gas is up as well. So what will happen is if the moment the first missiles are fired, you will see oil prices go up. And what does that mean? That means, no end to inflation anytime soon, likely. There's nothing that can ripple through an economy and cause greater inflation than higher energy cost, because it takes energy, oil, gas, diesel. It takes energy to move things to market. And if the cost of that energy goes up, then the cost of goods and services goes up. And ladies and gentlemen, that's inflation. When you have inflation, you're not going to have any interest rate cuts anytime soon. And we just heard a moment ago, a guy calling. He's talking about how he wants to buy a new truck right now. But he can't because the interest rates are just too high, and it drives his payments beyond that which he can carry. That's what it means to you and me. Not only that, it means that our men and women in uniform are in the crosshairs of what could be a very dangerous part of the world over the next 48 hours. U.S. is moving warships in to defend Israel in case of Iranian attack, according to the Wall Street Journal. Again, they want to up their ability to provide protection for Israel if possible, and make sure that Israel has what it needs. But we're there in a big way. Meanwhile, some other quick stories that are sort of related to all of this. From Newsmax.com, Hamas reasserts control in Gaza as the IDF has withdrawn from Gaza. 4 days after the official withdrawal of most Israeli forces from the Gaza Strip, Palestinians in Gaza are already reporting the return of Hamas police and security agents into the neighborhood. According to the reports, Hamas operatives are not armed with rifles or pistols, however, say it is clear who the forces are. The groups of enforcers are often seen with masks, and they are carrying batons. With limited IDF, Israeli Defense Force presence, Hamas enforcers have returned to regain control. Reports from Gaza show a stabilization in food prices at the markets after the return of the Hamas police. So that, as soon as you step out, Hamas is ready to return to its place of prominence inside Gaza. And then there's this, and this will irritate you. A senior Biden official admits that funds for Iran go toward violence, not humanitarian needs. U.S. senators, according to townhall.com, criticizing the Biden administration for putting Americans in harm's way after Deputy Treasury Secretary Wally Adeyemo admitted that the $6 billion that President Biden unfroze last year likely went to fund violent activity and not humanitarian needs. Oh, you don't say. During his testimony before the Senate Banking Committee, he acknowledged that for Iran, any dollar they have will go toward their violent activity before they deal with their people. If there had only been somebody who said this could happen, if there'd only been anybody, well, practically everybody told Biden this, and he still released the $6 billion. And shortly after we released the $6 billion, guess what happened? Hamas attacked Israel. Pray for that region. Pray for our men and women in uniform in that region, because I'm telling you, folks, it could get dicey in the next few hours. And we'll, of course, keep an eye on it and bring you all the information we can. Should that start to happen, we'll let you know. Right now, 21 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
25 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I mean, it was blustery and windy today and a little cooler, I think, than I expected it to be. But looks like the evening is turning off nice. And they say tomorrow's going to be really great. Temperatures in the upper 70s. And then on Sunday, we're going to hit 80, 81, 82, somewhere in there. I'll take it. We'll have a good weekend. And it coincides, of course. If I haven't mentioned it, have I mentioned this? I don't know if I mentioned this at all.
What's that?
There's the mile-long yard sale here in Watertown.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
you
that's
don't
right.
Say.
It's the social event of the season. Put on your grubby clothes. You don't want to put on nice clothes when you go to a yard sale.
Well, you don't know where that stuff's been.
Well, and not only that, I mean, but if you go and you look grubby, you get a better deal.
Ooh, that is a good tip.
If you're dressed nicely, you see, I learned this. I used to have a friend of my parents he loved to go into garage sales and junk stores and antique stores. That was his thing. He traveled all over the country with his job, and he always had a trailer that he carried stuff back, and he had the most interesting stuff. But his number one rule was you don't want to go into a store like that looking like you have money.
I never thought about that. That's a great point, though.
Yeah, you want to look like you don't have any money, because if you look like you got money, they're not gonna wheel and deal with you.
That's right.
That's right. So go down. You want to look like you're down on your luck.
So just normal clothes for me.
Yeah, for me, just normal clothing the stuff that I would normally be out working in the yard in. I'm just gonna wear that. Yeah. But you go and it starts. Really, honestly, I went to Lebanon today. Cabana wife and I went to have lunch and went up to Lebanon to run some errands, and on the way back, I mean, people were already setting up along 70. See, really? people who live along 70 have figured out that all that traffic is coming through to go to the yard sale, and so they start setting up like on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I mean, people were already stopping on the side of the road.
Wow.
I mean, I mean, just like you would not believe how chaotic it gets. But I would suggest coming all the way down the 11-mile trip down to Watertown, because that's where the mile-long the yard sale begins, and take advantage of all that. There'll be food, that kind of stuff. And then, maybe, make a sort of, as you can stop at those places on the way back.
Yeah, on the way out.
Way out, yeah.
That makes sense.
Don't miss the good stuff in Watertown. Don't blow all your money before you get to Watertown.
Yeah. Unless you just see something really, really good on your way in. And,
I saw a table on the side of the road that I nearly hit the brakes and pulled over. It was a table that was made sort of a I don't know, like a place where you put a lamp, not like a dining room table, but sort of a lamp table,
like an end table type.
Yeah, sort of like that. Maybe the kind of thing you'd put behind your couch, that kind of table.
Ooh, like a console type table.
Yeah, and the front of it was a Chevrolet pickup truck.
Like the grill of a pickup.
Of an old pickup truck.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Probably from the 1950s.
That is cool.
I said, I could see me buying that. And now I'm sort of regretting that I didn't stop, and I've told somebody's going to buy it right out from underneath me.
Yeah, it's probably already gone.
If you don't take action, you miss the good bargains. That's right. Don't pass stuff up and say you're going to come back.
No.
That never works.
Nope, never. Not for me.
Cabana wife and I are going to be knocking around in there. So if you see a guy looking pretty shabby and a woman who's not going to be looking shabby, she never looks shabby, and we got a bulldog in tow, you'll know it's us. So say hello.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure you'll have something to eat with you.
Well, yes, I'll be eating. What do they call that stuff?
Funnel cake.
Funnel cake.
Oh,
yeah.
You got to have a funnel cake.
I'm going to get me a funnel cake, and then I'm going to get me a Polish dog.
With the peppers and onions?
No, I like a little sauerkraut.
Ooh, yeah, that's good too.
Yeah. So anyway, it starts tomorrow morning. Get here early because all the good bargains will be gone by noon. You want to come in early.
That's right.
All right. It is 30 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Let me be honest with you. I have been really concerned about my weight. I mean, I lost a lot of weight last year, as you know. I've talked about it. I went through some medical issues, but as I solved those problems and got to feeling better, the weight started to come back, and I decided I didn't want to do the yo-yo thing, up and down, up and up and down. I wanted to get a hold of it and get something done about it before it got out of control. So I went to see the people at Restoration Wellness Med Spa. Now, I have never taken on a weight loss client before. But I'm impressed with Jamie and Carly and the program they came up with for me at Wellness Med Spa in Lebanon, Restoration Wellness Med Spa. You see, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. They took a look at my history, my lifestyle, and suggested an approach that is showing some results. And today I went in with Cabana Wife. We had our little check-in, and I'm still headed in the right direction. And they gave me some tips on how to enhance my weight loss program going forward. And amazingly, this is the big thing. I'm not hungry. I don't like to be hungry. And this really is a good way for me to go about it. Beyond that, Cabana Wife and I are undergoing peptide therapy at Restoration Wellness Med Spa and are thrilled with the results. We both noticed greater mental clarity, increased energy. So whether your goal is to lose weight or improve your overall health, Restoration Wellness Med Spa has a solution for you. Maybe it's time for you to join more than 1,000 patients who've already seen life-changing results. Here's the number, 615-470-8124. And learn more at restorationwellnessmedspa.com.
What an absolute mess. Hey, it's Dan Mandison. Look at my closets. Unorganized to say the least. Even my window dormer is a train wreck. Stuff is everywhere. Now, luckily, California Closets is coming to my rescue. My personal design consultant, Vince, stopped by, measured, and is now showing me how to become more space efficient and organized on his 3D CAD system. It is amazing. And soon, my space is going to be organized, and yes, even Bandit approves. California Closets, a local company that can customize the storage in any room of your house. California Closets, what can they do for you? Find them online at californiaclosets.com and reach out for your free in-home consultation.
.637 Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair for a few more minutes before we turn it over to Mark Levin, the great one. After the 7 o'clock news, he'll carry on through the evening. Today, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, was in Mar-a-Lago for a meeting with Donald Trump. It was very interesting because, as you know, the Speaker's got some problems. There's a motion to vacate the chair that is pending, came from Marjorie Taylor Greene. So having the presumptive nominee of the party putting his hand around the shoulder of the Speaker and giving him his support was a very important thing. But beyond that, there was real news. And so it was a pretty good situation there with news, a lot of news in that few minutes. So we have prepared about 9 minutes of that press conference. So here is the Speaker of the House and the presumptive nominee of the Republican Party, Donald Trump, from earlier today. Pay attention.
I'll introduce the Speaker, who you know very well. He's doing a really good job under very tough circumstances. And I appreciate he came to Mar-a-Lago. We have a great conference, and there's a big turnout because people want this to be healed. They want our country to be healed. They want our country to be united. And I think most people are united on the fact that they don't want people pouring in from prisons and jails and mental institutions. They don't want that to happen. They don't want it to take place, and it's not going to happen for long. And that's why I say that November 5th is going to be the most important day in the history of our country. That's the election. It's going to be the most important day in the history of our country. Thank you very much. And Speaker, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, and it's good to see you all. We're so delighted to be here with our former and future president in this beautiful facility. Mar-a-Lago is famous around the country, and we're grateful to be here. With President Trump as our nominee in the party, we are very much looking forward to that historic day in November, because we are going to grow the House majority, we're going to win the United States Senate, and we're going to win back the White House as well. The American people need us to do that. They're excited for that day in November, cannot get here soon enough. The Speaker of the House, when we're not in session, the Speaker is required to go around, fly around the country and be with all of our candidates and incumbents all around. I've been to 23 states now in the last several weeks, and everywhere we go, one of the first questions that people ask about is this issue of election integrity. The border is the #1 issue in America. There's never been a political issue that scored so high in the polls as a matter of concern. And it doesn't matter where anyone lives, because as we say now, every state is a border state. They're deeply concerned about that. And election integrity is tied to the lack of border security. President Biden has created a catastrophe, and he did it by design. We documented 64 specific executive actions that he took from the day he walked into the Oval Office, and that his agencies took under Secretary Mayorkas to open the border wide, to invite everybody from around the world to come here, including hardened criminals and dangerous persons. And the result, we all know. The official number is 9 million encounters at the southern border alone, just since Joe Biden took office. But the actual number is probably close to 16 million illegals who have come into the country because they desired it, they designed it, they engineered it to be that way. His actions did that. He ended the Remain in Mexico policy under President Trump's administration. They reinstated catch and release that had been practiced under the Obama administration. They stopped building the wall. They did everything exactly the opposite of what this president had achieved. And that's why we have this catastrophe. It has all sorts of terrible effects on the American people. We know that fentanyl is the leading cause of death for Americans age 18 to 49. We know that violent crimes are being committed on innocent Americans now. Lake and Riley and many others who are now losing their lives because these dangerous people are in our country, and it must stop. And the American people are demanding that it does. And it doesn't matter which political party that any American is in, they have the same desire. They want safety and security, and we can supply that. But among the problems that flows from this open border catastrophe is directly related to this threat to our election integrity. Why is that? You need to understand something really important about federal law. Since 1993, the National Voter Registration Act, we call it the Motor Voter Law, allows people to sign up to vote when they get a driver's license. If an individual only asserts or simply states that they are a citizen, they don't have to prove it. They can register that person to vote in a federal election. And you see, states are currently prohibited. Believe it or not, the states are prohibited from asking someone to prove that they're a citizen. The federal voter registration form just has a check-a-box, and if you do that, you're good. The states can't allow it. Well, we think that's a serious problem. And so what we're going to do is the House Republicans are introducing a bill that will require proof of citizenship to vote. It seems like common sense. I'm sure all of us would agree. We only want U.S. citizens to vote in U.S. elections. But there are some Democrats who don't want to do that. We believe that one of their designs, one of the reasons for this open border, which everybody asks all around the country, why would they do this? Why would they allow all this chaos? Why the violence? Because they want to turn these people into voters. Right now, the administration is encouraging illegals to go to their local welfare office to sign up for benefits. Well, guess what? When you go to a welfare office, they also ask you if you would like to register to vote. And so many people, we think, are going to do that. And you know what? The numbers are so high, there's so many millions of illegals in the country, that if only 1 out of 100 voted, they would cast potentially hundreds of thousands of votes in the election. That could turn an election. This could be a tight election in our congressional races around the country. It could, if there are enough votes, affect the presidential election. And so that's why House Republicans are going to act. I'm going to announce to you today, here standing alongside President Trump, that we will do everything within our power to ensure that we do have free and fair elections in this country. If we don't have that in a constitutional republic, we have nothing. It's the basis of who we are as a nation, and we owe that to the American people. And so what we're going to do is introduce legislation to require that every single person who registers to vote in a federal election must prove that they're an American citizen first. They have to prove it. That will be a new part of the federal law and a very important one. Our bill will establish new safeguards. It'll put us on par, by the way, with virtually every other democracy around the world that also prohibits non-citizen voting. And this is a critical thing for us to do at a very critical time. Our bill also will require states to remove non-citizens from their existing voter rolls. That's a big problem, too. And it will provide access to databases from the Department of Homeland Security and the Social Security Administration to help the states administer this. As the entity that is responsible for regulating federal elections, Congress has this responsibility. We cannot wait for widespread fraud to occur, especially when the threat of fraud is growing with every single illegal immigrant that crosses that border. This is something most Americans are deeply concerned about. The latest poll says 78% of the Americans who are polled say that preventing illegal immigrants from voting in our elections is a top priority. In every place I've gone around the country, whether it's out west, Midwest, Long Island, Deep South, it doesn't matter. Everybody is concerned about this. We have a job to do. Here's what you need to look for, and I'll turn it back to the president. When we put this bill on the floor, you're going to see a record vote by Republicans and Democrats. You'll see that the Republicans stand for election integrity. And then we'll be able to ask this very important question of the Democrats. They're going to have to go on record. Do you believe that Americans and Americans alone should be the ones who vote in American elections? We're about to find out their answer. And I think that will be a very interesting one for everybody to see. Mr. President, thank you again for hosting us today. I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Do you support Marjorie Taylor Greene's motion to vacate, or do you stand behind Speaker Johnson?
We're getting along very well with the Speaker, and I get along very well with Marjorie. We have a Speaker. He was voted in, and it was a complicated process, and I think it's not an easy situation for any Speaker. I think he's doing a very good job. He's doing about as good as you're going to do, and I'm sure that Marjorie understands that. She's a very good friend of mine, and I know she has a lot of respect for the Speaker.
And would you support a Ukrainian aid bill if the Speaker was to move forward with it?
We're looking at it right now, and they're talking about it, and we're thinking about making it in the form of a loan instead of just a gift. We keep handing out gifts of billions and billions of dollars, and we'll take a look at it. But much more importantly to me is the fact that Europe has to step up and they have to give money. They have to equalize. If they don't equalize, I'm very upset about it because they're affected much more than we are. The Ukraine situation would have never happened if I was president. Would have never, ever happened. And everybody says that, including Democrats, that it happened is such an outrage. Millions of people are dead right now, both sides. Millions of people are dead. Cities are blown to ashes. You'll never rebuild those cities. That's certainly not like they were, so beautiful. And this is something should have never happened. October 7th should have never happened in Israel. Should have never happened. What happened there was outrageous. Iran was broke when I was president. People weren't buying oil from Iran. They weren't allowed to. If they were going to buy oil from Iran, then they weren't going to do any business in the U.S. And I said it to China. I said it to everybody. They weren't doing business. They were broke. They didn't have money for Hamas. They didn't have money for Hezbollah. It would have never happened. October 7th would have never happened. It did happen, and now it's a disaster, and it's only getting worse. So it's very sad. No, I stand with the Speaker. We've had a very good relationship.
Well, that was earlier today at Mar-a-Lago. The presumptive nominee of the Republican Party, the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, and the Speaker of the House making a lot of news in that. I mean, number one, just the fact that he was at Mar-a-Lago and the president said nice things about him really bolsters his position within the Republican conference in the House of Representatives, and sort of is a brushback against, in a polite way, against Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has talked about how she would like to have another Speaker of the House. I think she, if you want to pick winners and losers for the week, I think she comes out as one of the big losers of the week because Trump definitely made a choice there in standing with the Speaker. So that's one important part of it. The other part is what the Speaker spoke about, which is he finally put sort of the whole story together for people about why the Democrats have been so interested in having so many illegal aliens come to this country, is because they know that they can go and apply for a driver's license. And when they apply for that driver's license, if they say they are an American citizen, that's it. They get the check mark and they get the little star on their driver's license, and they get to vote in the coming election as Americans, even though they are not Americans. And so they're going to try to bring forth this piece of legislation. Now, in the Democrat-controlled Senate, this is going nowhere, but it's certainly going to make a lot of people squirm, and the Speaker is right. Democrats are going to have to explain why it is that they don't think that only Americans should vote in the upcoming national election. This is a very interesting idea. Will really make the Democrats squirm, and that they're going to do this in a very public way is going to elevate that conversation and remind people about how easy it is to cheat in this coming election and what the Biden administration was truly about in letting so many people, maybe as many as 18 million people, come into this country. 50 minutes now past the hour. You know, there are a lot of diagnoses out there and a pill for everything, but not all diagnoses are accurate and not all pills are good for you. When you get a diagnosis for a European auto repair, get a second opinion before you make a major decision, and Eurofix is the home for second opinions. Before you spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars on European vehicle repair from a diagnosis you got somewhere else, check in with Eurofix. It could not only save your vehicle's life, but could save you a lot of money and a lot of stress. At Eurofix, you'll get a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection with an estimate at every visit. No high-pressure sales tactics, and at Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. At Eurofix, you never pay dealer prices. They have locations in Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now their newest facility in Mount Juliet. So call this number, 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com and tell them your friend and radio buddy Brian Wilson sent you.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to Markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.